We are on the campus of Wofford College here in the upstate of South Carolina. Gibbs Stadium will play host to the 79th annual Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas, powered by Ortho Carolina. This will be a contest in which the best 44 seniors from North Carolina high school ranks will take on the best 44 seniors from South Carolina. My name is Trip Durham, and along with Chris Hughes, our resident expert of North Carolina football, and Jim Baxter from the Palmetto State, we're going to bring you what proves today, we think, to be one heck of a contest with kids that are going to go college and pro before it's all said and done. Chris, North Carolina is on a 3-game snide right now, having lost to the Sandlappers the last 3 seasons. What do they need to do today to get the win?
Right, Trip. In recent years, North Carolina has been victim of the big play, the big receiving play deep in the game. They've went out and recruited some kids that have that big playmaking speed, some Clemson-bound athletes that should kind of turn the tables in their favor, but it's going to be a good game.
JB, Wayne Green recruited kids to play in this game that are going to fit a scheme that he and his coaching staff have been planning for. What type of scheme can we look for? What type of personnel are going to be part of that?
Well, he's got 2 quarterbacks that are very different in their style, so it's going to be interesting to see what kind of limitations are on the scheme when each one is in, rotating every 2 series. Chris mentions a big play. Austin Scott, quarterback, Tavian Feaster, running back, and Colin Hill, quarterback, all big play guys.
We've got student athletes that are here that are bound to the next level. We've got top 5 players from both North Carolina and South Carolina.
And in North Carolina, we mentioned the big play. Those 2 big play threats in Cornell Powell and DeAndre Overton going to Clemson, tremendous wide receivers. The quarterback who's going to get the ball to him, going to Oklahoma, Austin Kendall, very smooth athlete. He can, very accurate, can get the ball on point. The running back going to Alabama, the prototypical Nick Saban running back, B.J. Emmons, and running behind that offensive line. Offensive lineman Landon Dickerson, he's one of the best.
Preventing the big play is a big deal. Defense is big in these all-star games. Defensive line Niles Pinckney headed to Clemson. Defensive lineman Javon Kinlaw uncommitted with over a dozen offers. Those guys are going to be key in limiting the big plays by North Carolina. Quarterback Colin Hill headed to Colorado State. And for the big play on offense on South Carolina, look for Tavian Feaster headed to Clemson. Running back, running behind Big John Simpson out of Fort Dorchester, who's uncommitted with more than a dozen FBS offers also.
South Carolina won the coin toss, and they have elected to defer for the second half. And as we start to set the stage on the field for the game, we need to set the stage for what might be the keys to the game, brought to you by your Carolina Ford dealer. Your Carolina Ford dealer has the only pickup built with a high-strength, military-grade aluminum alloy body. It's the lighter, the stronger 2015 Ford F-150. See why every other truck is history. South Carolina on a 3-game win streak. JB, what do they need to do to keep that momentum?
Defense, guys. You know, defense wins championships. It also wins all-star games. I think deferring to the second half proves that's what they're thinking as well. They want to put their defense on the field first.
And, you know, getting the ball first for North Carolina, getting Overton, getting Powell involved in the game early, I think that could be a good thing. And also on defense, shake it up, kind of keep South Carolina's quarterback off his game.
Matt Gravely from Pickens, South Carolina will kick it away, and North Carolina forced just to land on the football after the muff at the 24-yard line, and North Carolina will get the football to start the contest. The North Carolina All-Star team, they are called the Tar Heels. The South Carolina squad, they are the Sandlappers. Chris, will North Carolina have any type of advantage under quarterback Austin Kendall to be on the field offensively first?
I think they will. You know, it's always good as an offensive coach to get out there just to kind of get the early game jitters out of the way, kind of find them some momentum and just kind of get a groove.
Austin Kendall, first play from scrimmage is a pass, and it is complete at the 40-yard line. And North Carolina, like that, is in South Carolina territory. Big reception for North Carolina down on the other end of the field, and it's Devon Diablo. And we've got a 4th member of our team, and that's Tiffany Irvin. She's down on the sideline.
Thanks, Trip. There is a lot of excitement down here on the sidelines during that kickoff. And, you know, it's a great day for football. And we all know we're here because of the game, but we're really here because of the children. As the oldest high school all-star football game in the country, this game has raised more than $75 million for Shriners Hospitals. So today we're going to hear a lot about football, but we're also going to hear a lot about those volunteers on and off the field who make this day happen.
Tiffany, thank you. We'll be reporting to you all afternoon long with the Ortho Carolina sideline report on 1st down and 10. Pass strike quickly to Rico Dowdle. Dowdle near the red zone after a big 40-yard strike a moment ago from Kendall to Diablo. Another quick pass, and the North Carolina offense is rolling.
And you noticed coaches have already looking for tempo. Coach Mark Colgan from North Davidson High School is getting some early tempo, kind of giving South Carolina's defense different looks, kind of keeping them off their game.
B.J. Emmons in the backfield. He'll get the carry into the red zone now, and B.J., I wonder a little bit if South Carolina's a little bit concerned because there is a lot of momentum right now by the Tar Heels.
Yeah, they wanted to get some momentum. That's why they deferred to the second half. I don't think they expected to give up two big plays, and we talked about that in pregame, not giving up big plays.
Spread offense on 2nd and 3rd. Still Austin Kendall, the quarterback. The verbal commitment to Oklahoma. The give goes to Emmons, and Emmons finds the corner for pay dirt. North Carolina on the scoreboard first.
And you see exactly now why Coach Nick Saban in Alabama wants Emmons. 2 carries, 2 big plays for North Carolina. The first 9-yard play, and now on that scoring play. Look at the cuts right there around the outside. I don't even think that's where the play was intended to go, but he made that move on his own.
Well, impressive with the offensive line for North Carolina because you've got Javon Kinlaw and Niles Pinckney on the edges out there, and those were a big concern for the North Carolina coaching staff.
Agreed. And you see here as a coach, and I know you've got a coaching background as well, JB, the swing and gate offense, going for the extra point, just anything you can do to kind of throw off the defense and set everything up.
Harrison Kaiser will do the kicking and punting duties today for North Carolina, the young man out of Page High School in Greensboro, North Carolina. Spot is down, kick is on the way, and North Carolina has a lead of 7-0 with 13:21 remaining here in the first quarter of play. A high-powered offensive series finished up by B.J. Emmons. Well, we need to talk about the impact players of today's Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas, powered by Ortho Carolina, and we obviously saw some impact in that first drive by North Carolina. Impact players brought to you by Zaxby's. Zaxby's has great party platters and size portions, and after we get this kickoff underway, we will profile the folks who are part of it. And actually, there's our graphic now. Guys, North Carolina, South Carolina, big names out here on the field today.
Yeah, South Carolina actually has 2 quarterbacks, Austin Scott and Colin Hill, both going to be impacts. And over on the defensive side, there's a lot of big names over there, but I like Rashad Bird at linebacker, that outside linebacker. He's a big-time player on defense and on special teams.
And over on the North Carolina side, Cornell Powell, again, going to Clemson. Number 3, the receiver, extremely talented receiver. On defense, we're going to get a chance to see him now. John Smith from Scotland County. All over the place, has a chance to start at North Carolina. He's a special one.
South Carolina will get his first touch of the football in the afternoon, and Troy Pride will run it back, gets across the 30, up near the 35-yard line before he's brought down. Troy Pride, the defensive back out of Greer, South Carolina. JB, as South Carolina comes onto the field after already giving up a quick 7 points, is there going to be a feeling of immediacy for these guys?
I don't think so. Not with a coach like Wayne Green. He's a guy that's going to, it's kind of like Novocaine, just give it time, it'll work, and he's not going to panic right now in the first quarter.
South Carolina starting quarterback Colin Hill out of Dorman High School, right down the road from here in Spartanburg. He'll take the first couple of series, and on first down, he'll try to find his receiver in Matthew Martin, the All-State Combine MVP wide receiver out of Anderson, South Carolina. First pass, incomplete.
Incomplete, and that was actually not a very good pass. And you expect a little bit a better throw on the first throw from a guy that's headed to Colorado State, FBS school, but a little bit of a struggle. Probably some jitters.
There are some nerves out there, and we've seen that in this All-Star game over the last couple of years. Second down and 10. Hill resets himself with a single back. Has time. Great job by that big offensive line that averages about 300 pounds, and he finds his guy in Martin this time. Martin pushed out to the near sideline. Chains will move.
Yeah, Matt Martin out of Westside High School, deceptive speed. You look at this kid off the field, he is so unimposing, doesn't look like much of a football player, but he is a football player, guys.
And what I loved as a football coach, look at the patience. The quarterback just stayed, he waited for the coverage and made the play.
Hill standing at 6'5", a 20-yard gain. He's got the stick set at first down and 10. Man in motion to the near side. Jason Hopper actually man in motion to the near side, leaving the sideline. Leaving to the sideline, and first man through is met. North Carolina, a resounding hit on Tavian Feaster, who seems to be a featured back not only during the season but also here today, and he is stuffed for a loss of 1.
He is. I mean, this Feaster's first touch, he is the big play guy for South Carolina, and he doesn't even get back to the line of scrimmage.
Xander Gagnon, big number 26, putting the hit on him. 2nd down and 11 now. After the 1-yard loss, South Carolina barely inside North Carolina territory. Pass near side. Chavis Dawkins out of Burns High School in Welford, South Carolina.
Chavis, another Division I prospect out of Burns, a big part of that Burns high-powered passing offense. And if you look at Colin Hill, what he did right there was look the safety off to the left side and comes back to the right.
Yeah, and that's the second play in a row. We mentioned Xander Gagnon with the tackle on the first play. Once again, this kid is all over the field. I really like what I see out of him.
Feaster will be the single back, joining Hill, as Hill stays in the shotgun position. 3rd, and we'll call it a very long 4 to keep the offense on the field for the Sandlappers. Check down is made. Feaster with the catch. Great move. Will advance towards the sticks. He will be shy on 3rd down.
Yeah, looks like they're going to spot him a little bit short. That's another one of Feaster's assets, is being able to catch the ball out of the backfield. He gives you that added receiver to your offense.
Yeah, because as you see on this replay, Gagnon was in perfect position to make that tackle, but you could just see that quick 1-2 move that Feaster gave him that made that move.
Head coach Wayne Green and his club, they are going to go for it. Yafari Wirtz will be the Wildcat. He'll take the direct snap. He'll try to use his quickness, and he will not make the line. One of the first ones up, Rakeem Chapman, along with Timothy Horn. They make the stop, and the ball will be turned over on downs.
Wirtz just not a lot of power behind him. He is a great athletic quarterback. Has led Newberry High School to the last 2A state championship games, but just not enough meat behind him on that one.
And you mentioned Rakeem Chapman clogging up holes. What a great play right there from that nose tackle position.
Austin Kendall will come back out to be the quarterback. Head coach John Kirby for North Carolina brought 2 quarterbacks with him to camp, the other being Dylan Parham. Said he was going to give each a couple of really good reps to see who could shake out as being the number 1 guy. Taj Deans gets his first catch of the afternoon. Deans out of Southern Nash High School, pushed out to the far sideline.
And Taj Deans is just a great young man. You mentioned Southern Nash High School out there in Nash County. You know, he's a member of the Monogram Club and the FCA, and just a great young man. And you want to see young men like that excel in this game.
Deans will stay in on 2nd down and 5. North Carolina with the early advantage, trying to tack on more to send a signal. North Carolina has lost the 3 previous ball games here in December over the last couple of years. Handoff to Kennedy McCoy, the verbal to West Virginia. He gets his first touch of the pigskin here today.
And I really like McCoy. Coach Mark Holcomb, the offensive coordinator from this game from North Davidson High School. And you look at McKinney right there. You know, he is a one-cut kind of guy. He sees where he wants to go, makes a cut, doesn't dance around and gets there.
3rd and short on the way for North Carolina. Kendall engineering pretty good offensive series here, as he did to open up the ball game just moments ago, with that first score coming after 4 plays and 77 total yards. He will check down to his wrist to see what the play might be based on the adjustments he's seeing from the defense. Calls for it, a handoff. McCoy off the right side, and he's able to get that first down. And once again, gentlemen, the chains will move.
And that's the easiest call as an offensive coordinator. When you've got 1 yard to get, you've got a lot of things you can do. It's a whole lot better than 3rd and long. And again, McCoy, a kid that's going to West Virginia, what a tremendous high school senior season he had. What a great kid, and he's showing now why he deserves to be on this big stage.
And South Carolina really giving up yards on the run. North Carolina's doing a great job of instilling that running game in this offense, and it's actually allowed them to hit some big passes.
And what strikes me, Jim, is that these players only were able to practice for about 5 days with their coaching staffs, but the patience that they seem to be exhibiting is something that you might find from a squad that's been around together for months at a time as opposed to just for a week.
Yeah.
I agree. And you know, these games, the defense is always ahead, and you saw the defense flying in there. The poise and the patience that Austin Kendall showed right there to pick up that blitz, to throw the ball off to number 3, Cornell Powell, you know, that was a strong move by a veteran quarterback.
And they got back there pretty quick, and that's South Carolina's strength, is putting pressure on the quarterback, and they're going to have to do that.
On second down, handoff to the near side, and look at the speed. Just the agility and the workhorse effort of Jordan Brown out of Durham, North Carolina, a young man who thinks one day he might want to go into scientific engineering. And I'll tell you what, he just engineered a pretty good pickup there.
He certainly did, and you look, he just makes the moves, finds where he wants to get some green grass and goes, and just another one of those great guys. He's a member of the National Honor Society. What a great kid.
And he finished his run. He really finished his run well with his pads.
9 yards on the play, first down and 10, another set of downs for North Carolina, which makes me wonder right now if these kids from South Carolina are a bit winded, having been out on the field this much this early in the first half. Pass right on target to Cornell Powell. Powell with great concentration is able to get outside the markers, and it looks like it might be an 11-yard gain and good enough for another first down.
It certainly is, and on that slant pattern, you know, he showed that he was not afraid to go up and catch a ball in traffic, and unfortunately it looks like we've got a South Carolina injury out there. But here on the replay, look, you got Kendall, look, slant pass right across the middle. He knew he was going to take that hit. A little bit of head-to-head contact right there, but still had the poise to make that catch.
Let's see which one of those players
Troy
it is.
Pride, it seems to be.
Yeah, I think he was the one that took the first blow.
And, you know, we saw there on the replay at the end of the play, the ball goes bouncing. I'm guessing they already called it a completion, but we did see the South Carolina kids saying incomplete.
We'll probably end up seeing Nick Graves come in for Pride.
We're going to step away for a few minutes while the training staff takes care of Troy Pride. Hopefully that young man will be okay and he'll be able to continue his Shrine Bowl experience. We're back in 70, and they continue their mission of helping children meet their medical needs, and we are celebrating all of their great work here in Spartanburg, South Carolina today. As North Carolina, after an 11-yard pickup, is set for first down and 10 again. Airing it out to the end zone. Is the catch made? We'll have to see for the signal. Yes, it is, and North Carolina puts another couple of points on the board. A big strike once again. It's the combination of Austin Kendall going back to Cornell Powell.
And look at this. Austin Kendall heading to Oklahoma, sits there and just lets that fly. Cornell Powell, the best receiver I've seen in this game in a long time for North Carolina, showing why he's going to that big level. Just tremendous catch.
27 yards on the play. It completes a 7-play drive, 64 yards. Only took 3 minutes and 35 seconds, but the South Carolina defense must feel like that some of these series are taking 10 minutes at a time.
And Coach Green, said yesterday, he told us yesterday that he felt like the secondary was a strong point of his defense, but I tell you what, right now they've got a lot of pressure on them.
And for the second time today, Harrison Kaiser will come in to attempt the PAT. High snap, handled well. He goes through the uprights cleanly. So 14-0, a surprise out of the gates by North Carolina. As we take another quick look on that strike, a great job by Powell to keep the concentration and hold on to it.
And he just goes up and grabs it. And he's got the best body control of any North Carolina receiver I've probably seen since Keenan Allen, who was in this game. And obviously we know he's playing in the NFL. Just a great talent and a better kid. And, that's the important part about it. We talk about the talents of these kids, but Cornell Powell, just as respectful a young man, a great student. And I think that's worth talking about as well.
Powell already today, 3 catches, 444 yards. When we had our production meeting yesterday with the 2 head coaches, John Kirby, the head coach out of Eastern Alamance in Mebane, North Carolina, who's the head coach for North Carolina today, he had reminded us that at all of the combines in the spring, because of the North Carolina State High School Association implementing a new spring football season, that during the combines he had to audition all of his kids without using a football, which makes it very tough when you're trying to figure out which of the 400 kids you want to squeeze down to a 44-person roster. And to see them strike for 14 points right off the bat, you would think they've been playing together since August.
Sure. You know when you see a good player, and you can see a lot on film, but I think good is good, and you find that quickly.
South Carolina on the ensuing kickoff. Bring it to the near side, and the young man Troy Pride, who was down just a few minutes ago, back on the field for special teams and able to return the football up to the 25-yard line.
So down 14-0 right now. You know, South Carolina's got to put something together. I mean, they really need a good, solid drive right now, just so the kids don't start panicking. I don't think the coaches are in a panic, but you know, as a player, when you get down by 14 in the first quarter, you're going to be starting to worry a little bit.
On first down and 10, South Carolina will roll back out with Colin Hill. His second series at quarterback. Pass finds his receiver, and he is covered up immediately at the 30-yard line. Coming down with the football is Jason Hopper.
Good read on that. Jason Hopper out of Lexington, outstanding athlete, 4-year starter for the Wildcats, and I believe he has not committed, but he's got offers from Charleston Southern.
Second down and 5. Hill again looking to string together some momentum, rolls to the near side, has his man. Falling out of bounds, it will be Samuel Denmark, and we will send it down to Tiffany Irvin on our Ortho Carolina interview stage.
Thanks, Tripp. Ronnie Blunt is chairman of the board for the Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas game and a longtime volunteer, one of many people who make this happen. But for folks who maybe aren't aware, tell us what that means, chairman of the board. What is your role?
It's a year-long process of working with the different committees, working on a budget to make sure we can stay in line, and leaning on a lot of generous volunteers and generous corporate partners. Ortho Carolina being our biggest corporate sponsor as our title sponsor. Many of you know Ortho Carolina, many of you don't, but they do a great job for us every year. Carolina Ford dealers and some of the others that step up, Zaxby's. The list goes on, but without their generous support, what we do for the children here at the ball game and at the hospital just wouldn't be possible.
They provide not only just generous financial support, but on the sidelines as well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, Blair from there was down earlier with us, and they do a great job for us. They even help with our combines in the spring. A lot of people don't know just the extent that they go to make sure that we're taken care of, and we certainly appreciate everything they do for us.
That's right. It's not just game day. This is a year-long process for many volunteers and sponsors.
Absolutely. We'll go home and have Christmas with our families, and once that's over, we'll be going back to work. In March, we'll have the coaching staffs down for next year's game. We'll have the coaching staffs for next year's game down with us this year, as they were picked earlier this week.
Ronnie, great job for you and all of your volunteers. Thanks for bringing us some nice weather from the coast when you came over. Thanks so much for spending some time with us. Tripp?
The first mental mistake of the afternoon leads to a first down for South Carolina. The ball nearly picked off on first down and 10. In the neighborhood for North Carolina was Isaiah Stallings. North Carolina had South Carolina beat a moment ago on an incomplete pass play, but the first flag of the afternoon allows South Carolina to set up first down and 10, now second down and 10 from the 50.
Yeah, a lot of contact on that penalty that we saw, and probably unnecessary because I don't think it was a catchable ball.
And I think Isaiah Stallings is probably hitting himself on the head because he should have had that interception. And he's one of those great field generals out there. He covers a lot of space.
Colin Hill on what will be second down and 10 will throw it just incomplete at the feet of Kevin Brown. Had so much pressure coming from the outside linebackers that he just had to dump it.
Well, we had a design screen there, and North Carolina sniffed it out, so he had no other option other than to throw it in the dirt to avoid the sack and possibly a tackle for loss if he did complete it.
Yeah, and it looks to me like North Carolina's defensive coordinator, Coach Shane Handy from North Carolina, he has kind of rolled his coverage from side to side and playing that zone very soft all game, but kind of keeping them in there to control those screens.
South Carolina's second attempt on the day on a third down conversion. Let's see what Hill can do. Plenty of time. Great defense at the line of scrimmage, and he finds his guy in open territory, and South Carolina will pick up its third first down of the day as we spin around and see that it's Matthew Martin who made the catch.
Again, Martin, great athlete out of Westside High School. Combine, what I call shorts warrior. When he goes to these combines, he puts up great numbers.
Hill to Martin striking for 14 yards. Again, first down. It's the third first down of the day, the second for South Carolina that did not come by way of penalty. North Carolina still outpacing the Sandlappers, 7 first downs compared to 3. Hill sets up, very poised, gets the ball out to the far sideline, and it is caught. South Carolina's Chavis Dawkins able to come up with a big play, and all of a sudden the Sandlappers have some momentum.
And we talked about his hands, and you saw that. That was a very difficult catch to make, and he did a good job of getting that ball down and pulling it down for a reception.
And I think the South Carolina coaches and quarterback Colin Hill, I think they're starting to sniff out that North Carolina zone. They've kind of been rolling their coverage from one side to the other, sitting back in what looks like a cover 3, and I think the quarterback's starting to find those holes.
The receivers coach for South Carolina today, Louis Alexander out of Mid-Carolina High School. He's obviously, Chris, picking up on some of the things that you're seeing as well and finding those opportunities in the field. South Carolina down by 14 here in the waning minutes of the first quarter. Hill lets it go on a rubber band. Flag is down. Catch is made. Chavis Dawkins thinks he's got the first points of the day, but we'll have to see about that flag back at the 11-yard line.
There's definitely some contact. It's going to be interesting to see which way they call it.
You wonder on the ball on the sideline like that if potentially the running back or the receiver went out of bounds before he came back in.
Our head official today wearing the white hat is John Price. He's worked 3 state championship games in his tenure, and he sets it up with South Carolina on what the penalty is.
Result of the play is a touchdown.
Ruling on the field will stand. Pass interference on North Carolina, so the Sandlappers get their first 6 of the day.
Yeah, it was a great pass, and one of the things you look at Colin Hill, Chris, is as he drops back, you can see one of the things when I evaluate quarterbacks is how quickly they process information. Sure. You can see him thinking and processing the information that the defense is giving him.
Matthew Pickney will try to put a foot in the ball, and it is blocked at the line of scrimmage. So South Carolina unable to complete the entire series, but points on the board nonetheless. It's a chance now for South Carolina after a 74-yard drive to build some confidence on the sidelines. States, as well as a comprehensive team of physical, occupational, and speech therapists, the Shriners are in business as a nonprofit to help over 100,000 kids a year with their medical expenses. North Carolina trying to answer with Cornell Powell. He wants those 6 points back, and it looks like he's going to get them for the Tar Heels.
Wow, that's all I can say. I saw him in the state championship game, the 4A championship game in North Carolina against Charlotte Catholic, and he ran the opening kickoff back. He has run kickoff and punt after punt back this year. Tremendous return talent. Again, we talk about going to Clemson, to a big D1 school, and this young man is showing why.
Well, we talked about 2 things yesterday and in pregame. We mentioned the words big plays, and we mentioned the kicking game yesterday we talked about. Both of those are impacting this game.
99 yards, and just watch Powell chug down that sideline. I don't think he had a breath left in him. He is fired up in North Carolina. At this point, Chris, it seems like they can do no wrong.
It does, and it seems like they're a team on a mission. But the 2 things that I take away from are the one thing, special teams. How often does this game hinge on a special team mistake and you see a block and a run back? That's a great omen if you're a Tar Heel fan.
Harrison Kaiser getting a workout today. Extra point is good, and just like that, with 4 minutes and 6 seconds remaining here in the first period of play, North Carolina 21, South Carolina a scant 6.
It's going to be interesting to see what South Carolina comes out with in this next series. If they hold true to Coach Green's interview yesterday, we're going to see Austin Scott at quarterback. He's going to present a little bit different look for North Carolina's defense. He's a dual threat, a lot more mobile than Colin Hill, able to extend plays and actually able to make plays with his legs.
Sure, and I think the mixing up of the quarterbacks actually will help South Carolina at this point. The North Carolina defense, why they bent a little bit and they did give up that score. They've shown a very good bend but not break mode today. And now bringing Scott, it could give just a little bit of a different look. And, as a linebacker, you think when you're making your reads, this is a different guy. You may not be able to bail like you did, because this kid here can run, and he can make you pay for sitting back in that zone.
Well, you saw North Carolina, their linebackers were dropping. I mean, they were not worried about Colin Hill running the football.
John Kirby yesterday said, I don't know if we've got the best 44 kids from North Carolina, but we've got the 44 kids that really want to play. And at least here in the first quarter, all of these kids have come to do just that. Little onside kick, and it looked like that Kaiser may have recovered his own kick. Did the ball go 10 yards? That will be the question.
I think South Carolina actually recovered it.
I think South Carolina did as well.
So they're across midfield already off of an onside kick.
And we talk about the special teams mistakes. And, you know, North Carolina had kind of two already up on South Carolina, the block kick and now the return. But you kind of negate that when you do something like this, up by 2 scores.
We'll see if Austin Scott can provide a spark for the Sandlapper offense here. Teammates in the backfield.
Sure.
Austin Scott, Tavian Feaster.
Colin Hill, when he was in, he was 8 of 11 for 89 yards, and Austin Scott will get his first turn at it, and the handoff will go to the first man through, and he's got absolutely nowhere to go as he is stacked up at the line. Tavian Feaster, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
And, JB, the first thing you said, you know, how the North Carolina linebackers were able to bail. I'm looking at Alexander Gagnon right there, who's headed to Duke. And, you know, he had been bailing on every snap, and, you know, he had to freeze. And that, granted, they made the tackle on the front, but that shows you how good a quarterback Scott is.
Yeah, and they're sitting. I mean, that's a setup for the run by Scott right there.
Absolutely.
I believe that's only Feaster's second carry.
It is.
And right now, North Carolina's offense outpacing South Carolina's offense by nearly 6 yards per play. North Carolina averaging just over 12. South Carolina just over 6. But a man wide open. Great hands, great catch. Dorian Lindsay out of Greer, South Carolina, puts an exclamation mark on that pass as they're now inside. The Sandlappers are inside the 20-yard line.
And he's caught the first of the many passes he will catch on this field as he's committed to Wofford. He's going to be playing here next year. But great football player, great pass by Scott.
Got turned around, watch, and still had presence of mind to put his mitts on it.
And this is one of the drawbacks to playing that rollover zone coverage. I think that you saw some of the North Carolina guys point at each other, wondering who had that kid.
34 yards, Hill able to find Lindsay. First down and 10 from the 11. Hill going to go up top again. This time looking for Larry Collins, and he's got him in the back of the end zone.
Larry Collins, a big receiver out of Lower Richland High School in Columbia, and about 10 or 12 offers as well from a lot of SEC and ACC schools. Great hands, but there you go. Austin Scott comes in, provides the spark the Sandlappers need, and they're on the board in just 3 plays, I believe.
And we know this Shrine Bowl is powered by Ortho Carolina, but I'm really thinking that there's a new sponsorship opportunity for Zambelli because of all the fireworks we've seen here in the first quarter.
You're right, and if I'm a North Carolina coach, you know, I'm almost kicking myself for that onside kick.
South Carolina will go for 2 to see if they can catch back up on the scoreboard. Scott in the shotgun rolls, has a man, but I think he just ran out of real estate.
I don't know if you go for 2 this early. I know you missed the extra point on the first touchdown, but there's a lot of game. We're still in the first quarter.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and you see that pass coming in, and there's the touchdown pass, and what a play. I mean, you know, what a phenomenal receiver that is. And you see number 33 there from North Carolina trying to make the play. And he did a good job of running, and that's Keyshawn Canada. But, you know, I don't think you start chasing points this early in the game.
No, not. You know, you're only really -1 on that missed kick. So
hasn't taken long for either of these clubs to score today. North Carolina's been able to get 3 of their scores off of a offensive possession. The first one that lasted 1:39. Their second offensive possession, which resulted in a touchdown, only took 3 minutes and 35. And then the 98-yard run back by Cornell Powell only took a couple of seconds. South Carolina hasn't wasted much time today. 2 minutes, 56 seconds on one drive for a score. 1 minute, 25 seconds. So efficiency, I think, is what we're finding with these 2 programs, even though South Carolina is just a little late to the party.
They are, but I tell you, having Scott in the game is going to make a difference.
Sure.
Gravely will kick it away. Short squib kick. First man up for North Carolina gets it, and that's Cornell Powell. We know what he can do. Turns the corner at the 40. Makes a great move across midfield. Could he do it again? He's being pursued and finally dragged down from behind. South Carolina was able to catch up and make the hit. Jamari Brunson, TJ Brunson, as he likes to be called, he makes the touchdown-saving tackle.
I think the officials in this game must have talked and said, hey, we're not going to call holding on kickoffs. Because the last 2 or 3 kickoff receptions, there was a lot of holding going on.
Sure, I say wow when I see this young man play, but I'm going to immediately question the South Carolina coaches. Hey, we know what this kid can do. He's done it all year. I don't think we're going to kick to him again.
Yeah. And why do you have you want to put this ball in the end zone.
Sure.
59 yards on that run back, and that complements the 98-yard run back he had just earlier. Pass to the near side, and North Carolina just keeps on rolling. Jordan Brown with the reception. He's able to make his way down to the 22-yard line, the verbal to Larry Fedora in North Carolina. He's able to pick up a big 8.
And I like the little option read right there. You had Rico Dowdle who went one way. Jordan Brown came around on that little screen pass, and what a great guy. Jordan Brown, again, a National Honor Society student, track athlete, tremendous football player.
Austin Kendall with over 10,000 yards passing in his career. He's able to flip it out to the far side. Taj Dees with his second reception of the day. Pushed out at about the 15-yard line.
Right, Tripp, and essentially that's the same play, just going the opposite. And it was probably an opposite call where they just said the same, and went the other way. This time to the wide side of the field, Jordan was able to get out there in some wide open space and kind of make a few moves and pick up that first down.
It looks like North Carolina's kind of satisfied, with the exception of a couple of power runs that really broke to the outside. They're trying to get their athletes in space, and they've done it very well on this drive.
And that was one of the keys to the game. Let your athletes get out there and kind of do something. So far, they're doing a good job of it. And I like this tempo, just kind of keeping it up, keeping the defense from being able to kind of come after you.
8 first downs now for North Carolina. Handoff will go to Dowdle. Dowdle to the outside, and pay dirt once again for the Tar Heels.
Rico Dowdle is one of the most electric players I have seen this year. An unbelievable junior and senior season. He picked up his 4th star, if you buy into the recruiting rankings this week. Picked up an offer from South Carolina down here. Tremendous football player. Very dazzling. It's hard to say. I mean, he's just a kid that gets out there and makes things happen.
And South Carolina just struggling on the defense, and the linebackers just not making tackles. You've got to make the tackles. Now, nothing away from North Carolina.
Sure.
North Carolina's doing a good job blocking.
Sure.
3 plays, 30 yards, efficiency. North Carolina just knocking points up on the board. Point after attempt, Harrison Kaiser. This young man is going to have to ice his right leg down when he gets home tonight. Through the uprights, and it is 27-12. Gentlemen, we have already had here in the first period of play 6 scores between the two programs.
I don't know what to think. I mean, year after year, with very few exceptions, we have these low-scoring defensive battles. And you think of an all-star game almost like a preseason scrimmage. The defense comes in ready to play, and you have to kind of put an offense together. But JB, you know this. Everybody runs some sort of a spread concept. So, these kids, every one of these players have some sort of an idea of what they're doing. And while, yes, the verbiage, the vocabulary may have changed, they're running the same thing they run in high school for the most part.
Well, the old adage that defense wins championships, and we mentioned it wins all-star games too, really applies more to old school football when you're running power football. Nowadays, with the evolution of the game and people throwing the ball around and passing, 60-70% of your plays, it's a little bit different. Now it's the big plays on offense that wins games.
Sure, and while this still may be a defensive game, and from a different concept, don't look at the 28 points on the scoreboard. Think of situational defense. While, situationally in that fourth quarter, there's going to come a time where one of these defenses is still going to have to step up to win this game.
This is the first time since 2005 that North Carolina has put up 28 points on the scoreboard. Those 28 points in 2005, that was the final score for North Carolina. 28 points here by this Tar Heel team just in the first quarter alone.
Troy Pride on that return, and I think we're going to have Austin Scott back on the field. I don't know why we wouldn't, and see if he can do a repeat of the last drive.
Sure. And you being the South Carolina guy, South Carolina fans out there, there is no reason to be worried yet, because we have seen both these teams can score. You score right here, you're within a score. Depending on the 2-point conversion, you're still very much in this contest.
And I think having Scott in the game makes Feaster more dangerous.
Sure.
Scott, in the contest, the quarterbacks have aired it out to 7 different receivers here this afternoon. That one falls just shy of Dorian Lindsay. Again, we mentioned earlier who will be playing his college ball right here at Gibbs Stadium. He'll be part of the prestigious Southern Conference come signing day in February. But for right now, he's just trying to help his Sandlappers get back into this ball game with the Tar Heels. Efficiency has come about for South Carolina. The first down margin has now been closed. North Carolina has 9 first downs against South Carolina 7. And Scott will try to make it 8.
I think he was
turned around, and Malik Great unable to come up with it.
Yeah, and I think he was expecting Malik to – he was trying to throw a back shoulder pass there, and Malik didn't come back. He actually kept going, so the pass was off. And the previous play, Chris, I think is a respect of the North Carolina defensive front, because all that was basically trying to do an extended run play.
Yes. And, you know, the evolution of the spread and the way these guys do, these short, quick screens and quick passes have essentially become running plays.
So Scott on third down checks out immediately to the backfield, and that's not going to get South Carolina anywhere close to the first down marker as the clock winds under 30 seconds here in the first period of play, and the punting unit looks like that they are tripping onto the field for South Carolina.
And I want to give a tip of the cap to big number 40 that we saw come flying in there to make that tackle. That's Charles Nobles from New Bern. You see the defensive coordinator there a second ago, Bobby Curlings. This is a football player, a quintessential football player that just gets in there and gets after it. This young man wants to be a police officer, so he's aggressive.
South Carolina will choose not to punt. They will take the timeout provided by the end of the first quarter break, and at the end of our first period of play, North Carolina is dominating the folks here in the upstate of South Carolina. North Carolina 28, South Carolina 12. We've got a lot more football. This all-star game always has surprises in the second half. And even though the second quarter's on the way, folks, stick around. We've still got great football between these two great states. Battle in that we might see our first punt of the afternoon well inside the first quarter, but as it turns out, as we open up the second quarter, we've got a punt that is blocked. First one of the day does not go well. And North Carolina, momentum still, again on special teams.
You have another blocked kick. First the PAT, now a punt, and these are going to turn into be a haunting for South Carolina.
And look at him coming flying in there from the left side. Looked like number 35 to me, Tyler Pastorio, young man that's going to Navy. Incredibly intelligent young man, top 15% of his class. You like to see those guys get after it.
Plus 15 on the play for North Carolina, but it'll go as a negative 15-yard loss for South Carolina. And North Carolina in prime position here offensively to start the second quarter of play. And instead of airing it out, coaches decide they want to give it off to B.J. Emmons, the verbal to Alabama. He is stuffed at the line, but they're going to give him forward progress for about 3 yards.
And I think that's the first time we've seen South Carolina's linebackers walk up on that.
Yeah, and you see number 50 coming up right there, and you know that is what the coaches have been worried about for North Carolina is him coming up in there and just disrupting things.
Yeah, Niles Pinckney did a good job.
Yeah, Niles Pinckney.
Austin Kendall looking towards the sidelines. Again, a very patient offensive set this afternoon today for North Carolina, and I think that's really helped the kids keep their nerves to a low. Kendall has to double pump for a minute. It looks like a bit of a busted play.
Yeah, it looked to me like he just kind of mishandled the ball from the snap, and by the time he regained it, there's just nowhere else to go. Made the smart move, just taking the dive himself versus trying to do something crazy and potentially causing a turnover.
Jeremiah Maddox out of Hilton Head, the first one to get there.
Yeah, and again, that's just a smart move by Kendall.
Gentlemen,
he didn't want any of Pinckney.
No, absolutely.
So third down and long, North Carolina catching the break. These two teams combined already here as we just open up the second quarter of play. These two teams already for well over 290 yards almost unheard of. Now the 98-yard run back by Cornell Powell from North Carolina helps to that number, but here comes another strike opportunity. Ball batted, volleyball in the air, and it is caught by Divine Diablo.
Wow.
Virginia Tech.
Incredible catch.
He is headed that way, and they're going to love that type of athleticism in Blacksburg.
Mount Tabor High School, Divine Diablo. His head football coach, Lamar Marshall, could not say enough good things about this young man. And you see, look at that ball control. Regains composure. Foot may or may not have been in bounds, but you've got to just applaud the effort.
Well, if you look at that play, and Troy Pride has got good position, but he never goes up for the ball. He never attacks the ball.
North Carolina now 17 plays for 191 yards, 3 plays for 21 yards just on that drive alone, and that only took a minute 45. Again, we go back to efficiency. The rush from the outside, but the kick is up and good by Harrison Kaiser. Gentlemen, I am just stunned for what we're seeing today.
First thing, amazing speed down the sideline, composure to come around, find the ball, make the play, go up the ladder to grab it, doesn't get it, still looks for the ball and grabs it coming down. This is an intelligent young man. He's a Crosby scholar. Very, very academic young man going to Virginia Tech. Can't say enough about him. Great play.
Well, when we're evaluating cornerbacks, one of the things that we look at is not just can you pop your hips and run with the receiver, but can you find the ball? Will you attack the ball? You got a receiver out there that's going to go vertical and go up for that ball just like a basketball player, and you've got to go up with him.
And JB, we see talented kids all the time, but I've had a chance to hang around these young men all week during practice, and I met Diablo, and he said the greatest compliment anyone could ever give me is just to say that I'm a good person away from football. So when you get someone that's just immensely talented like that, yet on the flip side, just a character kid, yes sir, no sir, that's a great concept to have.
Well, there's the first non-crazy kick we've had.
Kickoff by South Carolina coming back to the near side, and North Carolina will just clobber and swallow it up along about the 22-yard lines. Guys, I know South Carolina is getting ready to come back onto offense, but North Carolina's Austin Kendall, 8 passes, 8 completions, 137 yards for his guys there on the sidelines with 2 big scores on the afternoon, and that keeps the North Carolina sideline fired up.
Well, I think the South Carolina quarterbacks are doing fairly well. The big story today is you've got one of the top running backs in the country, Tavian Feaster, with 3 carries in the first quarter, and that's it.
Colin Hill will quarterback his Sandlappers here on first down, and the handoff will go to Kevin Brown.
Kevin out of Wando High School.
Stopped by Tyler Pistorio.
Also, we saw Aaron Ramseur come in there and plug that gap, and he is another one of those kids from a state championship team at Crest High School. Just very aggressive to fill it.
Well, I think you're going to see the North Carolina defense play a little bit looser now that Hill back in.
Matthew Martin and Samuel Denmark to the near side. That's where our quarterback wanted to go in Colin Hill, but instead he has to dump it back out to the far side, and great athleticism by both quarterback and receiver as Evan Vaughn was able to be the bailout at the last moment.
Evan Vaughn, big H-back tight end out of Belton Honea-Path, a super athlete, a lot of power behind him once he gets his wheels rolling. And those are the kind of plays South Carolina's got to have.
Yes.
First and 10 as South Carolina is able to set up. Pass to the far side. It will be ruled complete, and we will send it down to the sidelines with Tiffany Irvin.
Thanks, guys. I am so excited to be here with Jerry Gant. He is the Imperial Potentate and here visiting from the Shriners International. And you are actually from Houston, Texas.
I do, Tiffany. I live in Houston.
But you've been here for several days this week. Tell me about your visit so far to Spartanburg.
Well, I came in on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday morning we did another visit at our Shrine Hospital here in Greenville. Had a great visit. We had the opportunity to watch our patients, and as you know, our Shrine Hospital in Greenville is an orthopedic hospital, so we had little children going and doing karate lessons. So it was not only inspiring, but quite entertaining to watch them as they went through their karate lessons.
Well, and that's really why we're here this week. We like to watch a lot of football, and there's a lot of superstars out there on the field, but there's a lot of superstars in that hospital as well, right?
They are, absolutely. These children that have some challenges and are being worked on a little bit for their orthopedic conditions are very inspiring, and they are able to do basically and adapt to do anything that anybody else can do. And to be able to see them, and we were watching them as they were doing their karate lessons, and one little girl there that literally 3-4 weeks ago couldn't stand and walk by herself, and the karate has helped with that, and her being able to balance, and so when they're doing their kicks and their punches and stuff, and she was able to actually walk this week. So it's a very inspiring situation to see the children, and a lot of them were never supposed to walk and are now able to walk, and so it's really what we're about and the reason we do what we do.
Well, we thank all the Shriners, first off, for all that you do, but I know you have a lot of sponsors and a lot of other people that make this event possible.
Well, it's an incredible amount of people, everything from the sponsors to obviously the Wofford College and giving us the stadium, use of the stadium, and then certainly all of the staff and even the officials. And it takes a lot from the families to travel with the players, but hopefully it'll be a memory of a lifetime that's being created today for these young men.
All right, Jerry, thanks so much for spending some time with us, and welcome to Spartanburg.
Thank you, Tiffany.
All right, thanks, guys. Back up to you.
Tiffany, thanks a lot, and we thank you for anchoring our Ortho Carolina sideline stage. All of our orthopedic urgent care locations at Ortho Carolina are staffed by board-certified orthopedic surgeons and licensed orthopedic physician assistants. First down and 10 after South Carolina unable to do anything on special teams again, and North Carolina wants to take a timeout to figure out if they may be able to increase the lead today. It's a beautiful day in Spartanburg. South Carolina to the sidelines. We'll be back right after this. Well, football is not the only action here today at Gibbs Stadium. Kids come to this all-star game with cardboard in hand, and they have a big time on the berm here at Wofford College. North Carolina on first down and 10, sweeping to the right side, and South Carolina stringing out the offensive line and making a stop as North Carolina's Kennedy McCoy nowhere to head.
And you saw McCoy get that ball, but this is one of the first times, JB, that I have seen Pinckney just come in there and really disrupt that line of scrimmage like we thought he would do.
Well, they've made some changes.
Dylan Parham, now the quarterback for North Carolina. Pass is ruled complete. 6 yards on the play. Parham a verbal to North Carolina State. Dave Doran will be glad to have Parham anchor in the backfield here in a few years. Coach John Kirby here for North Carolina in our production meeting yesterday talked about Parham being sort of a nice little surprise during the course of the week, able to pick up on the offense fairly well, and Parham will have a chance here on third down to try to convert as North Carolina is 2 of 2 on the day in third down conversions.
I was saying they've made some changes on the defensive side of the ball, and you saw how quick the linebackers flew to the ball on that last play.
Parham on third will get the pass complete, albeit barely, as North Carolina had to grapple at the ball. Rico Dowdle, who's got offers from Tennessee, Wake Forest, North Carolina State, and just recently South Carolina. Dowdle and his Tar Heels unable to convert on third down for the first time today, and that'll bring Harrison Kaiser out for the first time today to punt. Normally in this all-star scenario, North Carolina and South Carolina have recruited one individual to do both the punting and the kicking. That frees up a roster spot for another specialty position, and this will be the first time today that Kaiser out of Page High School will have a chance to punt. Decent snap, not a great kick. It will take a Tar Heel bounce, and South Carolina will return it for about 2 or 3 inches before being brought down to the turf. And trying to return it back was Miles Corpening.
Yeah, dangerous move there, trying to grab that ball in traffic like that. It could have been another special teams error, but fortunately they held on to the ball.
And while that wasn't a big booming punt, it had the outcome you want. You got about a 35-yard net gain. You set them back there. It didn't look the part, but it got the job done.
South Carolina will run its 26th play from scrimmage here on 1st down and 10. Handoff will go to Feaster, and Feaster is able to explode his way across the 45-yard line.
And that's the Tavian Feaster that the people of South Carolina are used to seeing. A guy who can run in traffic, who can navigate it, who can stop and go, and very shifty. And I like to say he's a slider. When people slide, he slides off of tackles.
Tyler Pistorio making the tackle. And South Carolina is set up for 1st down and 10 after a 15-yard play. Hill, handoff, Feaster again. Why not? Inside North Carolina territory, down across the 45-yard line.
Chris, we talked before the game about having to adjust to the two quarterbacks for South Carolina. You see when Colin Hill is in, they've utilized an H-back. So they've got an H-back, that extra blocker in there for Tavian Feaster now. We haven't seen that when Scott was in the game.
And I love the vision that Feaster just showed. Went one way, completely stopped in his tracks, had the patience and saw a gap and took off. Got the big gain.
South Carolina, having only scored twice today, is hoping momentum can carry them to a 3rd score. Hill, handoff again. Why not Feaster? 40-yard line, beanbag on the ground. The ball is loose, and they will say the South Carolina keeps the football. As you can see, the South Carolina offensive lineman John Simpson telling his team to get back onto the sidelines. It's still our football.
Yeah, you want to listen when John Simpson talks. You want to listen to him. That's a big human being.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They say he is filet mignon. There's a lot of meat to that body. It's the word we got yesterday.
But a teddy bear.
A teddy bear, also the same word we heard yesterday during our production meeting. Feaster will get the football, crosses the 40 to about the 37-yard line, gain of 2, and another critical 3rd down opportunity coming up for South Carolina. We mentioned they've scored twice today to get their 12 points, 2 botched point afters, or otherwise South Carolina would have more digits on the scoreboard. North Carolina has scored 5 times today against, again, South Carolina's 2. So 3rd down, and we'll call it 3. It's a long 3. Play action, Hill's got a man, and it is caught inside the 10-yard line and give it up to Samuel Denmark. Samuel able to come up with a big reception at the end of a very good pass.
Samuel Denmark, a dangerous player. You see right there why Virginia Tech is happy about his commitment to them, and he's just a great hands, lethal runner after the catch, and solid speed, and able to get open, able to find the openings in the defense.
Well, he threaded the needle between Jack King, who was backpedaling, and Keyshawn Canaday, who was in coverage, and it just put the ball where it had to be.
33 yards on the play, gets it to the 5-yard line. Hill, can he convert? He'll pass. He's got his man. Touchdown, South Carolina. Chavis Dawkins. The excellent hands that we saw in the scouting report come through there. South Carolina ticks up the meter.
Yeah, another big play you see here. Hill looking, he was never looking anywhere else. He was going to Dawkins the whole way, and Dawkins did a good job getting inside position there and really setting himself up for that touchdown.
And look at his frame. Big, big kid. He's the kind of kid you want in a goal line situation. You know, Gilbert's one of the best man-to-man cover corners I've seen, but you just can't do nothing against that size.
5 plays, 69 yards. You take that and a point after, and South Carolina inches closer. 35-18. 5 minutes remaining here in the first half of play. It really is anybody's ball game here at the All-Star Game of the Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas. This is the 79th playing of the Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas, and if the second half, which is on the way, is anything like the first half, we might have a final score well up into the 60s. And with a little bit of breeze here in the upstate of South Carolina today, Matt Gravely needs to reset the football off the tee. This has been a lot of fun to watch. Sometimes when we open up one of our broadcasts here, we're really not quite sure what type of play we're going to get, but head coach Wayne Green for South Carolina and John Kirby for North Carolina, they've done a whale of a job, and we're here for the Shriners. Primarily, we are here for the kids who are fighting battles. But, Tiffany, there's a coach for North Carolina who's been fighting one of his own battles.
That's right, guys. Coach Charlie Metcalf is the only assistant coach on the North Carolina sidelines that was selected to this coaching staff, and he is here as an inspiration to his players as well. He is a 2-time cancer survivor. Didn't know for sure if he would even be able to be here this week, but he has made it to all of the meetings, to the combines, to the practices, and even snuck away from some of his treatments, I think, earlier this year in order to be with the kids. But he is one of those that has been an inspiration to these kids on the sidelines. It was so important to him to be a part of the Shrine Bowl. There was no way he was going to miss out on this opportunity.
Tiff, thanks. We were told by John Kirby in our production meeting that there were times during the course of the year, and this year these coaches started back in February. They started meeting with one another, and that man right there would actually sneak out of the house at times, unbeknownst to his family, just to make a meeting because he wanted to be a part of it that much. And that's Charlie Metcalf, a true beacon for all of us here today. On 2nd down and 8, a little pass play over the middle, close to the stakes. Ball caught, and coming up with it is Jordan Brown, and Brown is going to move that pigskin just a little bit closer to the stick.
And I saw Kendall just rear back there and gun that pass in there on the slant pass across the middle. Fired it right in Jordan Brown's chest. But, he held on to it. But, that was kind of Brett Favre reminiscent of just gunning that thing right in there.
Calling for the football is Kendall. And he looks over to the sideline, as has been the case all afternoon, to get the assignment. Dowdle will join him in the backfield. Dowdle will get the handoff, and he's really got nowhere to go as Travion Hinton was there to make the stop. The big man out of Northwestern High School. That's in Rock Hill, not too far from here, and he's able to get a pretty good stop on 3rd down. But it will move the chains.
You got to credit that first down to Rico Dowdle. If you saw when he was going down, he really extended the body, extended the arm out as far as he possibly could to move those chains. And again, this is the most electric player that I have seen this year. And I see a lot of high school football. But this young man has been amazing at quarterback primarily for AC Reynolds High School, but just a tremendous athlete.
206 yards already on the day for North Carolina. Trying to make it more as Kendall scrambles to the near sideline. They'll lose a few. That is the 24th play from scrimmage for North Carolina. South Carolina has already had 31 plays themselves, both teams combining for 427 yards, and we're not even at the intermission.
One adjustment that South Carolina's made, and I think it's making a difference, is they've taken Niles Pinckney off the edge and put him down at the nose position to give a little bit more pressure in the middle.
That time we saw Kinlaw apply the outside pressure, and that is what forced Kendall out of bounds.
Kendall takes the low snap, sets his body, has the receiver, Cornell Powell. Powell is dropped to the turf immediately as South Carolina was meeting him there with Datavius Wilson. They call him DT. He is also a Wofford commitment. He will play on the grounds of Gibbs Field here come next fall. Big-time hitter, and we just saw an example there.
Yeah, outstanding player, Wilson, and the linebackers for South Carolina are playing a lot better these last 2 series that we've seen.
3rd down and 3, and North Carolina is in no rush, trying to kill as much clock as they can before the intermission. The Tar Heels looking for what is going to be a walk-up blitz, but flags will fly as movement was had at the line.
And everybody pointing at each other.
Yeah, of course. That's what you have to do in the trench. It wouldn't be a trench unless you pointed.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to call it on North Carolina.
Our head official is John Price. We'll get the call.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
John Price is working with a crew today that if you add up all of their experience in officiating high school football, it would result in 160 combined years. A lot of experience out here. North Carolina's 3rd penalty of the day. And we will step aside as we get ourselves ready for what should be the end of a fun 2nd quarter. Good gosh, it's been a great first half. Fans, come on back. We've got more 3rd down coming up, and it has been an electric first half of football.
Yeah, especially these last couple of drives in the 2nd quarter.
Austin Kendall, the quarterback mostly of record for North Carolina, and flags will fly. as North Carolina is in jeopardy of picking up their 4th penalty of the day. South Carolina reaction makes it think that the Tar Heels are the guilty party. We'll find out from Mr. Price.
Prior to snap, false start, offense, 5 yards, remains third down.
So that will be the 4th penalty for 40 total yards.
Kind of shrinking your playbook here.
Kind of is. And they kind of tipped their hand. I don't know. I'm sure they'll change their play, but we saw 2 verticals and 2 slant or 2 post routes underneath, which is a really good 4th and or 3rd and long play. But, you know, as an offensive coordinator, your play sheet gets a little smaller as you get further back.
Coach Kirby will stay with the spread. Kendall looks, fires, finds a man. Unfortunately, the wrong man. Kevin Chamberlain with the interception. The first turnover of the day. Chamberlain picking his spots. Touchdown, South Carolina.
Big play. Huge play. And we talked about, you know, shrinking the playbook. There's only a few things you're going to have in your playbook that's going to pick up the yards you need to pick up that first down. You got to be a little bit smarter.
Yeah, and we've seen on this replay, you look at Overton. I had a feeling he was going to go to DeAndre Overton. It looks like Austin Kendall was expecting a skinny post a little bit further downfield, and he kind of slanted it out, kind of evened that pass out, and that's what led to the pick.
Yeah, great coverage. Safety never wavered, though.
No.
He never moved.
Gentlemen, we're to a point now that I really don't know what to expect on any given play. 50 yards on the interception and the run back, and the point after is good. And so we have a minute 45 remaining. It's only now a 10-point ball game.
9-point ball game with the extra point, 35-26. And, you know, and now we're going to, you know, next time we see South Carolina on the field on offense, we're going to have Austin Scott, which is another look. And I think that's been a difference in the second quarter, is just the change of pace that South Carolina gives North Carolina when they're switching those quarterbacks. They're so different in their style.
And don't forget, we talked about this being an offensive shootout, but I said this will become a defensive game, and I mentioned the situational defense. Key play for North Carolina, they needed that deep pass for the first down, and South Carolina put themselves in the right position to make a big play. And again, this is going to be one of those 3 or 4 plays that determine the outcome of the game.
And now we have another big play because we haven't had a lot of luck on the special teams play from South Carolina.
I'm a big fan of the adage that offense sells tickets and defense wins championships. And there are a lot of tickets sold today with an offense like this. Both teams putting up a combined 9 scores in the first 28 minutes and 14 seconds or so of the ball game. And you cannot leave Spartanburg, South Carolina today without thinking that you were treated to a show.
Yeah.
This is outstanding. Now, fortunately, I've been here all week, and mostly during the week, with the exception of some rain. You know, we've had 80-degree temperatures during the day, and I love this crowd, a tremendous crowd, but we've got great weather.
You know, there have been some years here in Spartanburg in which we've been clearing the field of ice, and at times we've been bringing in misting fans because it's just so warm. Special teams, North Carolina trying to find the corner. Jordan Brown with good return yardage up across the 25. Up to about the 29-yard line, and that's where North Carolina will start. First down and 10, and with 98 seconds remaining in the first half, I don't take John Kirby as being one of those coaches that just wants to knee the football to get it into the locker room.
I don't think so. I think we've still got a few more fireworks in this first half of play, and you know, I'm with you. I don't know what to expect because, you know, we've kind of seen the unexpected the entire game, but I have a feeling there will probably be one more score in this last minute.
It's like watching Big 12 football.
It sure is.
B.J. Emmons will join his quarterback in the backfield. Spread wide again. 2 up high, 1 down low. A little bit of time looking for some bailout. Kendall will move. Runs into one of his blockers in DeJour Simpson before he is brought down just at about the original line of scrimmage, and the clock will continue to move. Each program has 2 timeouts remaining here in the first half.
Pinckney never gave up on that, and they actually ended up making the tackle with the help of North Carolina lineman.
He did, but I really liked what I saw from Kendall. I was talking to Kendall's coach, David Johnson, from Cuthbertson High School, just on the outskirts of Charlotte. And you know, he said that he loves to scramble, but, you know, he scrambles to pass. He doesn't look to run first. He still keeps his eyes down the field.
On second down, pass is thrown low and incomplete and in dangerous territory.
Could have easily been another interception.
DeAndre Overton was the intended target. The other young man from Page High School, he has joined his teammate Harrison Kaiser, who is the kicker from North Carolina. They are both out of Greensboro. And on third down, somebody from North Carolina needs to figure out how to keep this offense alive here in the last 49 seconds.
Yeah, you definitely do not want to punt the ball at this point. I think that we all sense the momentum. We feel the heat that South Carolina is playing with now. And you give them, Austin Scott or whomever, a chance to get out there and score quickly. You know, this is a tough game.
Especially with 2 timeouts still in the pocket for South Carolina. Kendall, rushed, dropped in the backfield. Coming up to make the hit, Tramari Brunson. The verbal commitment to the Cardinals of Louisville, and South Carolina will take one of its remaining 2 timeouts.
T.J. Brunson out of Richland Northeast High School, and he committed to Louisville, but there's a question on that. He got a visit from the new ball coach at South Carolina last week.
I know one thing. He's a good player. You see him fire out there and make that hit. A tremendous football player.
So, gentlemen, let's walk through this. If special teams have been a bit of a challenge for both programs today, and we're facing a situation now in which Harrison Kaiser for North Carolina will only be punting for the second time, does South Carolina try to put on some added pressure? Obviously, some of the game rules don't allow for a blitz, but is there a chance to put in some more athletically skilled guys to rush towards the football?
I think they do. But if I'm North Carolina, I feel pretty good about this situation. They brought in a specific long snapper in Colin Byers from Crest High School. Coach Kirby's got his own player he brought with him in John Lamont, who has just recently committed to Boston College as a personal protector. And you know, those guys, they put a lot of emphasis, almost like a Frank Beamer type emphasis that you'd see at Virginia Tech on the special teams unit. So I feel pretty good they'll get this ball off. Now we have flags flying.
Flag comes from the back judge, and now he picks it up.
Sideline warning, South Carolina.
And that would be why. Deep to receive the kick of Kaiser will be Miles Corpening. And South Carolina will defend the receivers on the far side, and they will keep 8 in the box. So let's see what type of pressure they bring. Kaiser will call for it. It's clean. And he gets it away, and it's a really good kick. Corpening will take it at the 40. Across the 50. And he will find his run stopped at about the 42-yard line. So 1 timeout remaining for South Carolina. Down by 9. A score of some type would give South Carolina all the momentum they would need in the locker room, as they will receive the football to start the second half. You'll remember at the coin toss, they did win the flip and deferred to the second frame.
And Austin Scott comes back into the game, so you see No H back in this setup with him. All receivers, Feaster to his right. So
Scott will take a quick drop back. He'll fire. Good motion on it. Jason Hopper with the catch. This may force South Carolina to call their last time out. They will get to the line quickly. The officials will reset, and we'll look for a spike of the football right here.
One thing I noticed, though, is that North Carolina continues to stay in that little zone package. They're not going out and playing man-to-man, which may or may not be a good game plan. But it's the first time I was able to see number 20 there, Jonathan Smith from Scotland County, who's a UNC-bound linebacker, getting the play.
So I'm wondering now, with 8 seconds left, do we see one of those banquet plays?
Banquet plays?
You know, the banquet plays that they drew up in the banquet room.
Oh, that's right. We talked to our coaches during the production meeting, and they said that they weren't going to install anything in which they had to set it up in a banquet room in a hotel. Pass on the way, and it's going to be out of the outstretched arms of Larry Collins. He's big-bodied and he's fast, but just unable to catch up with a floater. 2 seconds on the board, though. Still a chance for South Carolina to put something in the end zone.
Fairly good coverage there.
It was. McCarter had a little bit of a hand on him, which is fine. He was playing the ball as well. But I think it's just a simple overthrow.
Yeah.
And that's Tyreek McCarter, the first time that we've really called his name today. He is a verbal for Rich Skrosky at Elon University.
And the thing about McCarter, he is a corner, and he's got good man-to-man skills, but he is 6'2", which is relatively tall for a corner at the high school level.
Well, here comes the last play of what has been a dynamic first half. 9 scores between the two programs. Will it be 10? We'll see as Scott scrambles. Good coverage downfield. He'll throw it up, jump ball, see what happens. Ball floats out of the back of the end zone, and we go to the intermission. So the 79th Annual Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas, powered by Ortho Carolina, has been exciting. Tiffany Irvin will catch up with one of our coaches on the field as we get some parting shots before heading to the locker room. I'm sure it'll be a mouthful. Wayne Green and John Kirby are both enthusiastic coaches. As we see Tiffany making her way across the field, she's going to try to grab John Kirby before he heads to break. And she's going to have to run and catch up with John, who's got a ton of enthusiasm. Radio Network is getting Coach Kirby now, and then Tiffany will get her spot. By and large, these two programs, they posted, my math, 53 plays from scrimmage in the first half, and Tiffany's there with John Kirby.
Thanks, guys. Coach John Kirby from North Carolina. Wow. Have you caught your breath yet?
It's been a back and forth game all half. It's a good game for fans to watch, I guess. I'm not sure about from a coach's standpoint. I guess if you're an offensive coach, it is. But a great first half of football. You know, we scored like the first 4 or 5 times we had it, and then we kind of fizzled out a little bit. But, you know, we got to get back on track, and hopefully good things will happen to us.
I think you're using every tick of the clock. Very good time management so far. Special teams showed up early with a block kick, a block punt. How about their performance so far?
You know, and we worked all week on special teams because in last year in evaluating this game, we thought the game was won and lost by special teams. And it's been a big focus for us this week, and hopefully it'll pay off for us in the second half as well.
A couple of folks showing out so far. Talk about Rico Dowdle and what he's been like on the field today.
You know, Rico's a great athlete, and he's making things, players make plays. And, you know, Rico and Cornell Powell with the kick return, and I can't say enough about how amazing those guys are.
Well, I know you talked about some trick plays and whether or not they might show up. Any chance we might see some in the second half?
They're still there, and they may come out before it's all over with.
All right, good luck in the second half, Coach.
Hey, thank you so much.
All right, back to you guys.
The last time North Carolina scored 35 points in a ball game, you'd have to go all the way back to 1980. North Carolina has this many points just in the first half alone. And as the Shriners start setting up for their halftime celebrations, what is their Super Bowl of their year, we'll get the cheerleaders cheering a little bit more. We'll get the players into the locker rooms, and we'll expect a lot more excitement in the second half. Stick around, folks. We're back in just a few minutes. Carolina, 35 points on the board. South Carolina with 26. And gentlemen, it was a lot of fun to watch.
And we got it started off early. B.J. Emmons, there you see him right there from Freedom going to Alabama. Around the outside, Austin Kendall, Oklahoma commit to number 3, Cornell Powell.
Yeah, Colin Hill going over to Meadows from Burns, touchdown.
And again, wow, I mean, look at Cornell Powell. The vision, the speed, getting through there, the kick return, just amazing play. I mean, unbelievable. Again, going to Clemson, outstanding.
Yeah, you know, Chavis Dawkins really had a great first half, and there you see Larry Collins from Lower Richland.
Sure, there again, look at Rico Dowdle. Just picked up his 4th star this week from the recruiting services. Zigzags, gets through for the touchdown. Again, you see Austin Kendall step back, firing. And this is the best play I think we've seen all day. Devon Diablo from Mount Tabor High School going up in the air, grabbing it. And again, look at Austin Kendall right there. The vision going deep again. Diablo, Virginia Tech bound. Great play.
Colin Hill getting things going.
There were 63 total plays from the line of scrimmage between these two programs in the first half, resulting in 435 yards.
Big offense, very little defense.
It does. It almost feels like we've been up here with somebody controlling this game with a PlayStation remote, because it's just been amazing, the offensive production.
First half stats are really important. We talked about the number of plays from scrimmage and the number total of yards, but gentlemen, by and large, these are all-star type of numbers here at this all-star game.
They are, and, you know, I think the biggest difference for South Carolina, we talk about, you know, how they got the passing game going and everything, but one of the important things I think they did was they got Tavian Feaster involved in the game. You know, he only had 3 carries in the first quarter for 3 yards. He ends up with 35 yards in the second quarter, and we saw a couple of good runs in a row.
And you think about that point where North Carolina was up big, they insert Scott, they insert Feaster, and they come in and just really, really take control of this ball game and just took all, like a balloon, took all of the air out of North Carolina's sails.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. They get the ball first to start the half, and I think it's still Scott's rotation, so they'll have Austin Scott in there, and we'll see what happens with that offense.
Wayne Green and the Sandlappers will get the football to begin the second half of play. Players head back over to the sidelines, and they get geared up. Tiffany Irvin has been anchoring our Ortho Carolina sideline report. Remember, when time is of the essence, Ortho Carolina offers great urgent care for the entire family. It's Ortho Carolina, and it's Tiffany Irvin.
Thanks, Trip. Coach Wayne Green on the South Carolina sidelines. What an offensive shootout you had in the first half.
Well, I mean, that's normally the case in an all-star game. You know, as far as their side goes, they really jumped up on us quick. But you got Clemson commit and an Alabama commit and an Oklahoma commit. So, I mean, they got some great offensive players. That's three of the best college football programs in the country, and they're going to recruit those kind of athletes. So that just lets you know what kind of athletes they got. But our guys battled back. I mean, we didn't quit. We didn't put our heads down, you know, so we've come back and at least made it a game to this point.
And you've got some amazing athletes on your side as well. Feaster, Hill, they're really doing a great job for you so far.
Oh, yeah. And I think we're getting more into the game, and as we get more into the game, they're relaxing and they're playing a little better.
All right, good luck in the second half, Coach.
Thank you very much.
All right.
North Carolina will kick it away. Deep to receive to start the second half for South Carolina, Tavian Feaster. Feaster was a factor, as we heard Jim Baxter say a moment ago, late in the second half, and if this young man can get wound up, then maybe South Carolina can go. So we will get it kicked away, and we will start our second half. And South Carolina will bring it forward. The young man appeared to be Samuel Denmark.
Good return by Denmark, and we are going to see Spartanburg quarterback Austin Scott coming into the game. See if he can pick up where he left off in the first half and try to get some things going. Only a 9-point ball game, so South Carolina very much in this ball game.
Sure.
First down and 10. South Carolina will start at the 38-yard line. Shadows starting to fall a little long here at Gibbs Stadium today. Handoff will go to Feaster. He'll run off left side and get a pretty good chunk of yards to stay on schedule. 5 yards, we'll call it. Second down and 5 on the way.
And I believe the way that Coach Wayne Green coaches, he likes to beat you to death with the battering ram, and I think he's satisfied. He'd just be satisfied doing what he's doing right now.
Sure. You still want to compliment those North Carolina interior defensive linemen, Chapman, Timothy Horn, Yuka Legby, really clogging things up.
Feaster, that was his 9th rush of the afternoon, 37 total yards for the young man. Again, second down and 5 on the way. Play action. Hill will scramble. Correction, that is Scott. He'll scramble. And the pass is incomplete.
Had a hand on the ball and had his man open, but when those big paws go in the air, it's kind of hard to get the ball over the top of him.
Sure, and you looked at that replay, and you see him right there in the middle of the camera, Jack King from Providence High School in Charlotte, coached by Brad Bowles. You know, this is an incredible kid, already committed to Army. You know, this kid is a steal for a program like Army. But, you know, I think going to Army, you know the character and the brilliance in that guy.
Third down and 5. South Carolina had the momentum going into the halftime break, and for now it looks like off the first 2 plays that South Carolina cannot match that same energy to start the second frame. Pass on the way. It is caught. Samuel Denmark, and Denmark puts to rest any thought I had about the team coming out flat as he is rolled to a tackle at the 45-yard line.
And Austin Scott makes a good read on that, gets the ball to his receiver, and like I said earlier in the first half, guys, Samuel Denmark is lethal after the catch. He can make some things happen.
And the thing I like about him, North Carolina was in very good position. They had players where they needed to be. You seen Gagnon with the rush. You seen John Smith right there about to make the tackle, and he just made the play.
So first and 10, South Carolina inside North Carolina territory. Scott, who will command this offense now, 4 completions off of 9 attempts. Now 10 attempts. He's 500 in that category. Pass is complete, but not a whole lot of yardage to be found, as being wrapped up is Matthew Martin behind the line of scrimmage.
I believe he got back to the line of scrimmage, but, again, Scott looking downfield, didn't see anything. He's got a outlet receiver over there. He gets the ball to him. But, one thing we haven't seen with Scott yet is him utilize his running ability. We have seen him extend the play and get the ball downfield through the air, but we haven't actually seen him pull the ball down and run it.
And on defense, we finally saw John Smith from Scotland County come in at UNC commit, really showing his speed and being able to cover sideline to sideline. And that's the thing, he's probably a kid that's going to start or have an opportunity to start year 1 at North Carolina.
North Carolina will have some personnel changes that Larry Fedora will have to deal with, and so there could be some of these student athletes that are going to enter that program at the right time. Scott will drop back. He'll fling it forward. Finds his man, but the ball is caught. It's on the ground. It's a turnover. It's a beanbag anyway. The officials will confer, and North Carolina does get the football in what is the second turnover of the day. We now have 1 for each side, and it looks like that Aaron Ramser out of Crest High School in Shelby, North Carolina, comes away with it.
There's a screen all the way, design screen. A little bit of zip on that ball for Feaster. He just drops the ball.
I mean, he made an amazing one-handed catch to reel the ball in. But again, I think a lot of that was from the zip.
Austin Kendall will bring his Tar Heels out onto the field on the afternoon. 12 attempts, 10 completions, 1 interception, 154 yards thus far for Kendall. And on his first play in the second half, he will hand it off, and not much doing for Kennedy McCoy out of North Davidson High School there in Clemens, North Carolina, wrapped up for a gain of 1.
And when you see McCoy trying to get out of the grasp, and we see number 55 right there, and that's Dontavius Wilson. When you got a big guy like that, he just had very few options that he could go.
And Wilson's been all over the field.
Oh, yes. What a tremendous player.
Just 8 yards on the day for McCoy. He'll stay in the backfield on 2nd down and 9. Handoff again to McCoy, and still nothing doing. The right side of that offensive line for North Carolina just unable to open up any holes. It's being anchored by DeJour Simpson, but guys like Miles Corpening as well as Tremari Brunson, they're just popping right on through.
Yeah, and Trayvon Hinton over at defensive end, they've switched the defensive line around a little bit. They've got Niles Pinckney playing in a nose guard now, giving them pressure up the middle, drawing 2 blockers, and it's enabling some of these linebackers to get through.
And one of the matchups that I looked for this week was Kinlaw over there, number 80, and Landon Dickerson, and it looks so far that Kinlaw kind of won that battle.
North Carolina on 3rd down has completed 50% of their 3rd down conversions. This one's up in the air, and they will not be able to convert as a good jump ball situation occurred. Divine Diablo up in the air. South Carolina also defending, so that will bring out Harrison Kaiser to kick it away. And
Diablo had position on that, but Troy Pride, different than we saw in the touchdown they gave up earlier in the game, he actually goes up for the ball in that.
I really think that Diablo kind of got behind on his break coming out of his stance, and if you noticed, he really had to cut on the jets just to catch up to that. Great defensive play, though, by Pride.
Miles Corpening will be deep to receive. He has been the punt returner of record today for South Carolina. Both teams unable to do anything with the football in their first possession. Low snap. Good job by Kaiser to get it away. Corpening will slide up to it. He'll take it amidst a little bit of pressure being applied by North Carolina's Tyrick McCarter. McCarter right there in the shadow of Corpening. South Carolina will get their second shot at it.
Looked like an old WWF suplex.
I was about to say, he put a little bit of a DDT move on him. And, there's been a
35 afternoon. There's definitely a nip in the air. Fans are shoulder to shoulder trying to keep one another warm, and the action on the field between the lines has definitely kept everybody heated up. 14 different receivers today between the two programs. So these 4 quarterbacks have been airing it out all over the field.
Yeah, they have, and now we see a change at quarterback. We see Colin Hill back in the game, and
Colin Hill got us started for South Carolina. Feaster will be his running back of choice. Feaster will try to string it out to the left side of the line before being met by Charles Nobles. The first time today we have called number 40 for the team in white.
We haven't been able to see Yafari Works much in the game, and I think Coach Green said he'd use him in short yardage and red zone, type situations in the Wildcat. They just haven't been in that situation but a couple times.
Another name we have not called today for North Carolina, John Lamont, who is the superstar for head coach John Kirby out of Eastern Alamance, a young man we thought that could play both sides of the football. He has not had a touch yet today. On second down, the pass is batted out of the air. It's incomplete. Xander Gagnon out of Charlotte Catholic got his mitts on it to break it up. We heard from him during halftime, and he's a guy that will play a factor here in the second half, I'm sure. Third down on the way.
He certainly is, and I'd really like to brag on Gagnon. Had a chance to see him a lot during the course of the season, obviously playing at Charlotte Catholic, one of the premier 4A programs. Saw him in the state championship game against J.H. Rose, and that young man has an extremely high ceiling, not only at Duke, but potentially beyond.
On third down, as South Carolina has only completed 3 on 7 attempts today. A lot of pressure. Ball will be picked off. Tyreek McCarter, can he go all the way for the score? He does. Pick 6 for the verbal to Elon.
And again, that play was set up by Xander Gagnon coming on and putting up the pressure on the quarterback, kind of threw off the play, allowing McCarter to make the pick and gets a touchdown for North Carolina. And again, that situational defense, they need it. Here we're going to look at this replay. Look at Gagnon coming in from the outside, flying in 100 miles per hour, and just leaves McCarter right there to make the pick, and he zigs and zags for the score.
Well, and McCarter read it beautifully.
He did.
He saw the blitz coming. He saw the release, and I think the receiver never saw it happening.
32 yards on the return. We've talked about big plays all day long, and yet another big one. This time for North Carolina. Both teams looking a little stagnant to open up the second half, but North Carolina taking advantage of a pick 6. Point after on the way. It is up, and it is good by Harrison Kaiser. So as we roll to break, we will take a look at what has been the deciding factor here in the second half. And that is Tyreek McCarter taking it back 32 yards for another 6 points. We welcome you back to the Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas. It's powered by Ortho Carolina. This is the 79th edition of this game that has been played over the years between the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, and here in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And we see our South Carolina kids, who are down by the mark of 42-26, set to receive the kickoff after North Carolina just ran it back 32 yards off the interception. Tyreek McCarter, right place, right time. And again, just as we thought that the second half was opening up sort of flat for both programs, North Carolina put a squash to that.
Yeah, they did, and they did a good job, and it was a defense. We've been saying we wanted to see some defense.
Sure.
We were surprised we hadn't seen it, and we've gotten it. Really, the last series of the first half for South Carolina, and then this pick 6 for North Carolina in this one.
North Carolina has scored 6 times, so this is the 6th kickoff by the Tar Heels. Harrison Kaiser puts his foot into it, and South Carolina returns it back. And let's take it down to the Ortho Carolina sidelines with Tiffany Irvin.
Thanks, Tripp. You talked about the 79th running of this game. This man has been here for more than 35 of them. Ron Long serves as the athletic director, and this is actually, the 16th year in that role?
16th year as the AD for the Shrine Bowl.
So tell people what that means for folks who are watching and maybe don't know what the athletic director does. This is not just show up and have fun today.
I like Ron.
No, actually, we started planning for next year's game Monday night of this week. So we will practice during the week. We will have meetings starting in end of January, and we will work on next year's game through the time. Basically, in a one-line answer, my duties, if it happens between the lines, I'm in charge of it. The coaches, the players, equipment, the athletic trainers, the doctors, just basically dealing directly with the teams and the coaches with it.
You've got some great kids on the field today, great coaching staff as well. And what about the attendance today? Just announced a little over 7,000 people today.
It's wonderful. It's great to see the stands filled today. It's up from what we've had in the past. A huge contingent from Charlotte came down for the game. So it's good to see the visitor stands filled. And South Carolina always does a great job of supporting us.
And there's still a lot of football left to play. It's a high-scoring, explosive game. Great for you to show that it's a really exciting game people are going to stay tuned in to watch.
It's a defensive coordinator's nightmare, an offensive coordinator's dream come true. But there's some outstanding athletes, as you said, out here. The kids, by the way, also have been great this week. We've had people actually stop us in the streets and tell us that they had seen the players out at various events and how great they conducted themselves. So it's wonderful to have this caliber of kids around.
Well, Ron, we appreciate all that you do to make this event a success, and all of the Shriners and everyone involved with the Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, and thanks for ESPN support with us, too.
All right. Trip?
Well, Malik, great moments ago during that interview with Ron Long really could have put South Carolina in position for a score. I mean, South Carolina is starting to churn up some of the yards, but that drop pass a moment ago by Great has really put South Carolina in a bit of a bind. Kevin Brown will get the handoff. Again, offensively, South Carolina moves, but boy, a big strike was missed a moment ago.
Yeah, Kevin Brown's ran the ball hard these last couple of runs. Picked up a first down on a 10-yard run just previous to this play, and he picks up 6 on first down on that one. So they're going to kind of go with the run game and try to pound it in the middle.
Sure, and I thought South Carolina was going to try to stay away from the B from the North Carolina defense, but they're actually having some success going straight forward.
Colin Hill on second down, low snap. He gathers it, poised, throws, floats it right over the top of his man down the field. There to try to get the ball was Dorian Lindsay, but just out of the outstretched hands.
A little bit overthrown there.
It was. It was overthrown, but still a tremendous effort on both players, both the receiver and the safety's part. Jack King, tremendous effort. You know, both of them made a play at the ball, and that's what you want to see, competition at a high level on such a big stage.
South Carolina just ran Yafari Wertz in, and he's lined up in the slot now.
8 third down attempts on the afternoon. Completion of 3, now make it 4. Good running that time by South Carolina as Kevin Brown, to Jim Baxter's point a moment ago, running hard to keep South Carolina in this offensive series. Chains will move. Ball will be marked at about the 19-yard line, and the team clad in red is now inside the red zone as Colin Hill looks on for instruction.
I like the packaging on this drive.
I did too. I like that 3-by-1 set, and I think North Carolina was thinking screen the whole time, and they did that little backside draw. That was a great play.
First down and 10 as Hill has a compliment in the backfield. Handoff again will go to Brown. It's worked so far. Flag will fly in that area of holding as Brown is able to eclipse the 15-yard line. We'll see if it stands or if it needs to come back, and it will come back. Tell you what, guys, for an all-star game in which you normally see a lot of penalties, both teams have played it fairly cleanly today.
Holding against the offense, 10 yards from the spot of the foul, replay first down.
The good drive going. You don't want to shoot yourself in the foot with penalties.
Just the first penalty on the day for South Carolina. Both teams have combined for just 5 pieces of laundry on the field, so that's not bad. 5 total penalties for 45 yards. Again, in an all-star game in which you're either coming off a layoff from the playoffs of the regular season, or when you haven't had a chance to really mesh with your team, you'll see a lot of missed timings and a lot of silly fouls, but today these teams have done a great job. Colin Hill looks. He's got some room out to the right. He'll take it. The real estate's there, and he'll pick up good yardage.
And that's something you don't see out of Colin Hill very often, is him pulling the ball down to run it.
Well, I think you've got to credit the North Carolina secondary. You know, as an analyst and a coach, I was worried the most about North Carolina's safeties and just their overall defensive secondary coverage. But they were spot on. That is the reason that he was forced to run, because the secondary tied up the receivers and gave that front line. You saw Bear Hunter there trying to make that push, and that's kind of what set up that big play.
Don't want to throw penalties from up here, but I think South Carolina got away with a little hold on that one.
You know, it happens every play. We know that.
That run is able to get South Carolina over 300 yards total offense here this afternoon. He'll look, shoulders turn, he's got his man. Great catch. Evan Vaughn, touchdown, South Carolina. Both the quarterback and the receiver using the traits of their body to really make that play happen.
Well, you know, he turns to throw the ball. There's good coverage. He turns away, and the defender just quit.
He did. He was in good position, then he turned around and just stared it down and just forgot where his defender was. And you know, I really like to see that fullback, H-back get the ball too. You know, he's been there running that power, being the lead blocker, and to finally get paid off and to score in a big game like this. You know, that's a life moment for him.
Yeah. And
22 yards on the play, or on that play, 7 plays total. Took 3 minutes and 27 seconds for South Carolina to register their 33rd point of the afternoon. And gentlemen, if I were to predict, I'd say if these teams keep rolling like this, we might have a game that's got a final score of something in the 60s or something in the 50s.
Sure. I mean, not only are we going to probably see a day where North Carolina probably scores the most they've ever scored in the history of this game, but it could be a moment where the loser scores the most ever for a losing team in the history of this game. I mean, amazing offensive production.
Accolades all the way around, right?
No question. Positive way of thinking, glass half full.
Folks, go ahead.
Not much defense, though. We got to see more defense here.
These fans are out here in the stands today getting their lip balm on and enjoying what is good quality football, but they're also doing it for a good cause. The Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas, all of the financial proceeds, whether through sponsorships or for ticket sales, goes back to the Shriners network of hospitals. At halftime today, the local Shrine clubs here presented a check to the hospitals for $2.5 million. So the tickets that are sold today go for a good cause. Anytime you have a chance to support the Shriners, please do. You can log on to shrinershospitalsforchildren.org to find out how you might be able to contribute. So North Carolina moving the football up, and good gosh almighty.
There he goes, and there's the flag. Wow, what an athlete. What great quickness. And not only the quickness, yes, we know that he's amazingly fast, got quick feet, can make moves on a dime, but he has got tremendous vision to see holes opening 5-10 yards down the field.
You know, in an all-star game, you would think that your kickers are going to be putting the ball out of the end zone. But what happens is you've limited on the number of players you can have on the team, so you try to get the guy who can punt and kick, that dual kicker. And so a lot of times you don't get a deep kicker.
Guys, the one thing that I have noticed about Powell throughout the day is the way that he holds the football when he runs. If you watch, he is very liable to lose a football by just palming it instead of tucking it. And at some point during his career, he's going to have to fix that.
He is, and that's a good coaching point to bring up, Tripp. But he has the most enormous hands for a receiver that I've seen. This young man has got all those physical tools, and I think that he's able to maintain it. Here he goes again.
Here's the one-trick play that we didn't know if John Kirby would unleash or not. A bit of a flea flicker, and the ball will be thrown to the right guy, but about 5 yards out of the line of play.
Wow.
That was probably one of the homework assignments.
It is. That's that banquet play that you talked about. And Coach Kirby told us that he sent that assignment to each player to do that homework. But wow, what tremendous athleticism. And you know, we put Cornell Pat on this pedestal, but he could play quarterback. He could play corner. I think that young man could play all 22 positions.
And if he had his way, he'd figure out a way to invent 2 more positions so that he could play those as well. 2nd down and 10 on the way for North Carolina. Their only score this quarter has been by way of a 32-yard run back off of interception by Tyreek McCarter. The offense would like to get credited with a score, and it looks like John Kirby is going to need to take a timeout to figure out maybe how to get that next score. And as he steps aside, will step aside. 5 minutes remaining here in the 3rd period of play in North Carolina. Season high totals, you could say that to say the least. 42. John Kirby, the head coach for North Carolina, told us earlier this week that when you bring together 44 players, it's hard to install an offense. Well, you wouldn't be able to tell that based on the number of points he's put up on the board today. And on 1st down, North Carolina, actually on 2nd down, North Carolina will run it off left side. B.J. Emmons, the ball carrier, and he is stopped in his tracks by Trevon Hinton, big number 46.
Yeah, I think Coach Kirby was kind of playing poker with us. I've never seen him to be one to hold back, but this definitely does not kind of go in line with the vibe that I was getting from that coaching staff throughout the week.
North Carolina, 3 of 7 on third downs today. Pass over the middle, great hands. Rico Dowdle making the catch, moving it up near the midfield stripe, and North Carolina able to move the chains again off of third down, their 4th time today.
I think what North Carolina's trying to do, you noticed that Cornell Powell has been in the backfield, went on some backfield motion there. I think they're trying to possibly set up some plays for later on in this half. But again, what great hands by Dowdle over the middle. That ball was thrown in there on a bullet.
Ball control right now, too, for North Carolina, having held the ball for over 6 minutes now. And Dowdle getting the ball again, this time well into South Carolina territory. Dropped at the 41-yard line.
As we wind down in this third quarter, South Carolina can really ill afford to give up another score right here.
Sure, and one thing I've noticed, North Carolina's been in their tempo all day to where they've tried to continuously go and kind of force the hand in substitutions. But they're kind of taking their time now. They're looking at the clock and trying to milk every second they can.
Kendall flushed out of the pocket, does a good job to get towards the sideline, and that's where the play will finish as he was escorted out of bounds by T.J. Brunson out of Ridgeland Northeast in Columbia, South Carolina.
But it looks like it was able to move the chains. And again, one of the in conversations this week, not only with his coach David Johnson, but some of the recruiting writers that were here covering Kendall who think that his potential and his upside is tremendous at Oklahoma. But he is known as a pocket passer, kind of a pro-style guy, but he is deceptively quick. He can get out and make some moves.
First down, handoff, Emmons. B.J. Emmons doing a very good job to extend the play. So much so he gets inside the red zone before being tripped up by Troy Pride.
Tell you one thing I've been impressed with the North Carolina team is how their receivers block so well downfield.
As a receivers coach, my receivers hated me because I treated them like offensive linemen. We went and hit that sled, but it's amazing at just how crucial receivers are in the running game. And again, B.J. Emmons, the Alabama commit, he is just built 220 pounds, and he showed the strength right there.
Officially 23 yards on that play, but he really ran more for like 35 to get that plus yardage credit. He'll get the give again. The thing about these two coaches, once they see that rhythm with a particular running back, they stay with it time and time again until they're either ready to mix it up or it sort of goes flat.
Agreed. And now look at them taking their time, getting the call, milking every second they can. And I want to give a shout out to Alex Gorley at center right there from South Iredell High School. He's really been the captain of that offensive line today, kind of making a lot of those running alleys open.
North Carolina trying to make some more noise here. Pass flat out. Emmons with the reception. Again the extra move. This time so much so he gets down to the 2-yard line.
And that was all on him. He did a lot of that himself. He should have been tackled about 7 or 8 yards ago. But just look at the strength of this young man. I mean, 220 pounds we talked about. But as you see in this replay, he is just he's on a different level. Look, he dances around, and Kinlaw had no idea where to go. And when he decided he wanted to go, he was there.
Well, I think the defense for South Carolina is getting tired. I was watching that play, and Kinlaw was very slow with his first step on that play.
So at the 1-yard line, North Carolina knocking again. Kendall keeps it himself. Pay dirt. North Carolina on the board with another 6 points, and that is the all-time high for North Carolina in this series, dating back to 1937. 48 now, the most points scored by a Tar Heel team.
And when we're talking about a Shrine Bowl game that's 79 years old, and you do something that's never been done before, that is an incredible feat by this Tar Heel team because, unfortunately, North Carolina's been on the other end of some of those scores. So, this is a total effort by the Tar Heels.
Oh, yeah. Back in 2000, South Carolina blitzed North Carolina by a mark of 66-14. So, to your point, the Tar Heels are happy to get this, and I know John Kirby is happy to be the coach of record in the record books. Harrison Kaiser will try to make it an all-time number +1. It's a high kick, and that is wide to the left. 9 plays, 63 yards. It took 4 minutes and 5 seconds for North Carolina to extend that lead from 48 to 33.
You know, I think Harrison Kaiser might be tired, you know, to miss that extra point. And he's a young man that I enjoyed talking to during practice this week. Been a 4-year starter at Greensboro Page High School for Kevin Gillespie, and he just loves working and just being a person of impact. He has some offers or some potential places to be a walk-on at the kicking level at NC State, at Clemson, at UNC, at Louisville. You know, just an overall good kid, and I'm glad we've had a chance to talk about him.
Well, he certainly had his work today.
He has. He has been coached up by a former North Carolina kicker, UNC kicker Dan Orner, goes to a lot of his camps. But he didn't even want to be a kicker. He wanted to be a football player. When he went out for football, he wanted to be a receiver. But Coach Gillespie found out about his soccer background and said, "Come on, son, you're the kicker," and he's been a 4-year player.
North Carolina has scored 7 times today, which means that Kaiser has kicked off or will have kicked off 7 times. And if you think about the opening kick to the second half, that's 8 times. He's punted, if I am not mistaken, he has punted 3 times. So the kicker today has had a lot of work. And a lot of times you don't want to call attention to a kicker, but in Kaiser's case, it's probably some good news. Ball will bound, and it will fall out of bounds, and wisely so, as Samuel Denmark lets it go, because that will be an infraction on North Carolina for kicking it out of the field of play.
And we'll see the South Carolina offense coming back out. It looks like Jafari Wirtz is he's coming back off the field.
Yeah, Wirtz is a young man wearing number 1 that we haven't seen much of today. Just a couple of touches with the ball as we get the official call from Mr. Price.
On the kicking team. Ball be spot on the 40. First down.
And South Carolina will start with really good field position as they mark it at the 40-yard line. So by no means is it time to panic for South Carolina, but in total there's only 16 minutes plus on the clock for the ball game as we wind down the third quarter, and the Sandlappers are down by 15.
And it's a 2-possession game.
A little bit of a delayed snap. Timing just a bit off, but Kevin Brown able to make something of it as he crosses the 45-yard line. It'll be a pickup of 6 as the clock continues to trip its way towards zeros here in the third period.
You know, late in the season, Tavian Feaster had some problems with his ankle, and these last 2 drives, we haven't seen him on the field. He was on the kickoff receiving team.
Brown with the football again. Big hole left side. Well done. 1,300 plus yards in rushing this past year for his Warrior football team in Wando, and he's able to serve the Sandlappers well here as we are now inside of a minute.
And his head coach, Jimmy Noonan, is actually the offensive coordinator for this team, for the Sandlappers.
So he knows a little bit about what his kid can do, and Brown is now well over 50 yards on the afternoon in rushing. Another low snap. It's the second weird exchange here in this series, and the pass is incomplete, right in the hands of Dorian Lindsay. Just couldn't hold on.
That's a couple of big drop passes on the last 2 series.
You know, and that's just your basic 10 and out pass and wide open. Meaning, you know, that was a first down. He's going to get about another 5 or 6 yards on the play, but you seen him right there to make that big hit. That was Mark Gilbert, another Duke commit. You know, we don't talk a lot about Duke. We've talked about Clemson and a lot of these other schools, but Coach Dave Cutcliffe and Duke have really recruited this state and has brought some good kids on board.
Duke with an invite to the Pinstripe Bowl to finish out their 2015 year, so positive momentum in Durham these days. Handoff again, Kevin Brown. Brown continues to be the workhorse now, as that's his 7th carry. We'll mark that one for about 4 or 5, which will put him up over the 60-yard mark for the afternoon.
3rd and 4, so I would wager here going into the fourth quarter we're probably in 4-down territory.
I did like that Alex Proviance from Reagan High School came in there and made that play. He is a snowboarder, very athletic kid. Great to see him get some action.
Well, we have a timeout. No, they're going to reset the play clock, it looks like. The clock was winding down to a point to where South Carolina may use the third quarter transition as a timeout, but they stopped the game clock to reset the play clock. And as they blow the whistle to start again, will South Carolina let it go? Body language says they're just content to roll to the fourth quarter. So we will take a break, and we will roll towards the fourth quarter. North Carolina 48, South Carolina 33. North Carolina has already scored more points in this game than they ever have in the history of this series, and I bet neither one of these teams is done when it comes to putting points on the board. If you want to find out what happens, you need to come on back. It'll be exciting from Spartanburg, and we're back right after this.
Of Darrelle Revis for the New York Jets. This kid goes during the summer and works out with NFL players to get ready for his high school season, and we've seen that cover skills and being able to get up there and make that big interception. Tremendous.
And that interception right here is the 100th play we have seen in this ball game today, as both schools are taking tremendous amounts of snaps from the line of scrimmage.
Player changes on the defense.
Incredible game. Now we've got a quarterback change as well.
Well, let's see what Parham can do. Parham will keep the football. He'll run out to the right side. Again, that's Dylan Parham. Was used sparingly in the first half, and he might get a chance now with North Carolina being up 15 to really clock some good minutes for the Tar Heels. Jim Baxter, I wonder what the mood on the South Carolina sideline must be like, being that close to scoring, yet now having to jump back on defense down by 15.
Well, there's not a lot of enthusiasm down there. You can look on the bench at the South Carolina offensive line talking to each other, and nobody looking happy right now.
North Carolina, Parham will keep it. Left side. Got a good couple of yards before being met by South Carolina's Miles Corpening. And this could just turn out now to be a game of keep away. How long can North Carolina keep it on the afternoon time of possession? They're actually playing efficient offense. They have held the ball for 4 minutes less than South Carolina. But if they can string together a couple of first downs here on some running plays, they'll really shorten this ball game. Parham will throw. Far side, Powell. Powell will tuck the ball. Well done, and run out to the sidelines at about the 39-yard line.
I like Powell.
I do too. They've been setting that play up for a while. I told you that they sent him on that out of the backfield on that little backside motion, and I do like Powell. But let's talk a little bit about Dylan Parham. This is a big kid, and I like the fact that he's been able to get in here and run. He's not really known as a dual threat guy. He is a pocket passer with a lot of upside. But Dave Dorn at NC State, I think, has found a gem with him.
Parham with the handoff. North Carolina running off left side. Again, up by a comfortable margin with the assignment that time. It was Kennedy McCoy.
Haven't watched Parham a lot, him being in North Carolina, but doesn't he look a little bit like Phillip Rivers coming out of high school?
He does. He's got that true 6'5". And, a lot of times, and you know this more than anybody, Jim, that stats get overrated. You see a combine height and weight, and you'll see a 6'5" or 6'4" when he's really 6'3". This kid is a true 6'5", borderline 6'6" kid. Great frame. He can make every throw in the book when it comes to a quarterback. He needs some polishing, and he does need to work on accuracy, but that's something he'll get a lot of at NC State.
Dylan Parham, who is described as a great surprise during practice this week, just threw an interception. And that was a surprise to him and his entire coaching staff. Tip drills have always been very important in the high school world, and that time Miles Corpening was the beneficiary of a tip and an interception, and South Carolina will get a chance to try to put points back up.
As a quarterback guy and a quarterback coach, this is something that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but that was not Dylan's fault.
No. Cornell Powell made a great move to go up and grab that ball. He was a little bit behind it. Probably would have been better served to let it go. We've seen it there. But, he just put that big hand back there and swatted the ball down, and Corpening was just in the right place at the right time.
The third turnover of the afternoon. First down and 10 now for South Carolina as we flip our stat sheets over, and the handoff will go right up the middle to Tavian Feaster. Feaster, who arguably is one of the top candidates for college play coming out of the high school ranks this year. As described, though, by his head coach Wayne Green here for South Carolina, he's one of these kids that's very non-assuming. If you were to walk into a crowded lunchroom, you wouldn't even know who Feaster is. He's that quiet, he's that humble, but boy, does he let his work on the field speak for itself. Feaster again with the carry, this time nowhere to run. They're hoping for forward progress. And by where the officials are standing, it looks like that it will be another first down for South Carolina.
There's still enough time in this game for South Carolina, but they've got to open the playbook up a little bit.
Needs to have a sense of urgency, it feels like, at this point. And right now they're running their offense as though it was midway through the first quarter.
I did like the way that linebacker Aaron Ramseur just kind of grinded in there and halted the runner's forward progress. They gave him the call, but, that just showed some grittiness.
Chavis Dawkins will be the receiver to the near side. The drop back, the pass to the far side. Bodies are there, but just not enough room, as we've seen several times today. The intended receiver for South Carolina, Samuel Denmark. We've mentioned that he is out of Hanahan High School, and he is a verbal to Virginia Tech. As we are faced now with a 2nd down and 10, and Austin Scott looks to the sideline, just trying to find a little bit of magic coming from that staff.
2nd and long, they pull their H-back out. They run Jason Hopper from Lexington High School in at receiver, so they're going to go with a one-back set.
It's like you've watched this football game before. Indeed, it is what Jim Baxter called for, and let's see where they go. Left side, some room to scramble if he wanted it, but instead he throws and the ball is dropped. South Carolina several opportunities today to make something big happen, but instead Jason Hopper lets the ball fall right to the turf.
And puts them in a 3rd and long.
The one thing I've noticed is North Carolina has somewhat abandoned now that blanket zone coverage, and they've put a lot of man-to-man out there, and he was wide open across the middle and unfortunately couldn't cash in on that catch. But it's interesting just to see as this game evolves, the coaching changes on both sides.
And by our count, that is the 3rd time this half that South Carolina has dropped the football with a pass play. 3rd and 10. And we're going to have a draw to Feaster, and he's got nowhere to go.
I don't understand that call. They had Larry Collins single coverage with no safety over the top over on the right side.
Aaron Ramseur makes the tackle, and the scouting report on him is he knows how to fill the gaps. And boy, he just did it there. 4th down now, and South Carolina is going to have to go for it, down by 15 points. And the shadows drawing long, the sun setting low, and the scoreboard running out of time.
Same setup with Collins over here.
And they're giving him a lot of room.
So look forward to the near side. There it is to
That's
Collins.
Where they go.
He's got it. He's got the first down. And these two gentlemen to my right have just called a great play here in the press box.
There's a chance we've done it before.
Collins, great hands, and again, he's a kid with multiple FBS Division 1A offers.
And that is the first 4th down conversion of the ball game for either program, and it could not come at a better time for the Sandlappers.
I'm going to brag on Aaron Ramseur again, though, from Crest High School. That guy has made about the last 5 tackles in a row, all over the field.
Scott.
They're still not giving that corner any help with Collins.
And the ball is thrown out of bounds as the intended target was Feaster coming out of the backfield. So 2nd down and 10. South Carolina's sort of been stutter stepping throughout the entire second half. You get a couple of good plays strung together and then stop. String together one or two more plays, you stop again.
Sure. And you saw Cam Pemberton, the safety, kind of give some help that time on that play in the end zone. Another one of those kids from Fayetteville, coached by Rodney Brewington at Southview High School. Just a great athlete that's really an offensive player now playing defense.
Scott, 2nd down. Pass complete. Left side, Matthew Martin. Martin with an extra move. Nearly takes out a chain gang member and gets it close to the first down stake.
And you can see, as I mentioned earlier, Martin, kind of an unassuming player, but you can see that speed burst he's got. He got deceptive speed.
He did. North Carolina was over there. They sniffed that out and got over there again. I just mentioned Pemberton, who is once again on the play, but also Najee Reams from Durham Hillside High School, coached by our own Antonio King, was in the play. And Reams is another one of those kids. He's a 4.0 kid, a great kid who's an incredible track athlete who had that speed to keep up with him on the coverage.
Another big third down conversion. South Carolina 5 of 11 today. Double pump, pass, great catch. First down, no doubt. South Carolina needing the conversion, and they just got it as the catch was made by Feaster. And Feaster did a really good job that time, gentlemen, to be able to turn his body and catch the laser that was coming out of the hands of Scott.
Well, that's one of the big interest in him as a prospect and why he was ranked so high as a running back, because he does have the skill set of a receiver. He can beat you as a running back, but he can go out of the backfield and become another receiver.
So first and goal from the left hash. South Carolina cannot settle for a field goal in this situation. They need to put big points on the board. Handoff. Feaster. Is he in? Yes, he is. Touchdown, South Carolina, their 6th score of the afternoon.
Second effort.
Yeah, maybe the third effort. He was stopped 2 or 3 different times on there, and I'm sure we'll see the replay come around, but he just made a great physical effort to make that play. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Two
the third one, yeah.
9 plays, 45 yards. It took 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Probably longer than head coach Wayne Green would have wanted. And once again, special teams letting the Sandlappers down. Third time today that South Carolina unable to convert post-touchdown, and that could hurt them. 7 minutes remaining. We'll be back after this. Carolina scored the most amount of points by a Tar Heel team in this 79-year-old classic. But the losing team today, regardless who it is, it will be the most points scored by the loser of this tilt in the 79-year history. And as we were talking amongst ourselves during the break, we don't know that we've seen anything like this for any All-Star football game anywhere in the country.
It's amazing. I mean, it's just one of those classic battles. And between the three of us, we've been around high school football and college football for a very long time. And on the high school level, this is just simply an amazing game.
After the kickoff, we will send it down to the sidelines for Tiffany Irvin, as she's got yet one more dignitary for us to catch up with. And I think this will be a good opportunity to do that now.
Thanks, Tripp. You guys are talking about all of those records that you're setting. We have the guy right here that we can thank for that. His first year as game chairman, Jamie Smith. Congratulations on a fabulous day, first off.
Thank you. We're very pleased the way the day and the week has turned out.
Now, you're responsible for so many things game day, and we've talked about all day today. Obviously, the main purpose of this game is for the children at the Shriners Hospital. There's a lot of kids as well on the field today, but you guys really get youth involved on so many levels. Let's talk about that as well.
Absolutely. We just don't showcase football players. We also have student trainers. We have student correspondents that cover our media throughout the week. And we even utilize a digital arts class from a local high school that designs our ticket, poster, and program cover.
And, of course, kids have been here volunteering. We heard some really loud noises out there. I'm sure Tripp and those will fill us in very quickly. But we want to make sure that we recognize the fact that you've even had Rainbow Girls and Demolays here. They spend the night at the Masonic Lodge last night and really get involved as well.
We're very pleased to have our Rainbow Girls and our Demolays because, you know, the youth is the future. And at the end of the day, being a Shriner, that's what we do is for our younger kids. So we're very proud of the accomplishments that in our relationships we have.
Well, it's been a great day for football. It's been a great day for kids. We're going to throw it back up to the top real quick to Tripp and those and find out what's happening on the field. Guys?
Well, Tiffany, thank you. It was a personal foul. It was a late hit by South Carolina, and it happened on the North Carolina seated section of the stadium. Watch it here. Out of bounds goes Emmons. And Emmons gets hit last second by T.J. Brunson. So that was the whooping and the hollering. Probably a bit innocent, but it is an all-star game and people are all juiced up.
It's a hard football play, you know, and this time of the game, everybody's trying to make something happen.
And North Carolina possibly taking a timeout. They are. They've got 3 that they could have taken to start the half, and that's one of them. So North Carolina trying to put the final nails in this one. We'll see if they can do it when we come back. Well, as we start to wrap things up here in Spartanburg, we're at the tail end of our ball game between North Carolina and South Carolina. We reference during the break amongst ourselves about some of the All-Stars that have played in this game over the years, and there's some notable names. Sonny Jurgensen, Jim Rice, yes, that is the Boston Red Sox Jim Rice, Hakeem Nicks, Jadeveon Clowney. Gentlemen, all over the map, this ball game produces some outstanding talent.
No question, and we didn't even think about Todd Gurley from Tarboro that's getting it done in the NFL now.
Keenan Allen at San Diego, some great names. David Amerson, who's been on several different NFL rosters over the last couple of years. This is that mark of players jumping to the future, and from 1952 all the way up till the last couple of years, you can almost throw a dart and hit any of the years and find a pretty stellar name.
Not only that, just watch the NFL draft in the spring. Mario Williams from this game, overall #1 pick. Countless numbers of first-round draft picks from both states. I mean, you want to talk about players on the field, this game has it.
North Carolina in the driver's seat, 48-39 our score. Second down and 8 on the way for North Carolina as they're hoping just to kill a little bit of clock. Handoff, B.J. Emmons. Emmons finds the sideline again for the second time this series, and in a show of good sportsmanship is able to help one of his sandlapper rivals up off the turf.
Tell you what, if I was given an MVP award, it goes to that North Carolina offensive line.
You're right, and we've really not talked a lot about some of those guys, and sometimes that's the unfortunate part of the broadcast. You end up talking about some of the players. I mentioned the center, Alex Gorley, tremendous kid. Peter Leota from Asheville High School, heading over to South Carolina. Landon Dickerson, we've talked about him, has offers from everyone, FSU, you name it, superstar talent. T. Surin from Talini Surin from Ardrey Kell. Some great looking kids down there.
Can we key in on number 79, White, when we come out of this play, please?
The previous play, Jack Doyle, number 79 from North Carolina, just drove his man all the way down the field.
Well, and Jack Doyle there, he's got an older brother that's a 3-year starter at the University of Maryland, also on that offensive line. So these guys really do come by it honestly, and they know how to dig it out there down in the trench. I sort of wonder what it's like during summer break with those two kids in the backyard playing lineman on lineman.
I agree, and such a fine guy, and committed to East Carolina. I rode in the elevator with Jack Doyle, and he'll probably remember this, but he is a great kid, just very humble personality. He doesn't strike you as a big football player at all.
Emmons with a handoff. Again, he loves that right side of the line. He will jump out of bounds again. And it might be good enough to have the chains move, and if so, that will keep the possession strongly in favor of North Carolina, and that clock just continues to dwindle on down to zeros.
Well, he likes the right side of that line because it's 6'5", 290, and Doyle's 6'6", 245.
That's where all the meat can be found, huh? So 1st and 10 on the way. Will be interesting to see if Coach Kirby goes into what might be sort of a prevent offense. I don't know that he wants to run the score up on an opponent, but if the opportunity presents itself, maybe he will find a couple of extra digits up on the scoreboard. He's letting the play clock fall down to about 1 before the snap. Kendall with the handoff. Kennedy McCoy gets the carry. For McCoy on the afternoon, that'll be his 7th carry. He will pick up 1. That'll be his 10th yard here in this All-Star game.
And McCoy, he's a kid, kind of a mathematician guy who really loves math. And he's probably looking at that play clock and saying, okay, how many more times do we need to take a snap before we can get out of here? But again, he's going to West Virginia University. He's somebody that's not really a spectacular down-the-field runner. He's not somebody that's like a Barry Sanders type play, but he does everything extremely well. He's a back that can come out and catch the ball. He can do a lot of things, and I think he's going to fit in up there at West Virginia.
Kendall will keep it. And it's probably okay that he only picks up 1 on the play, as the clock, with the play clock and the game clock, will get down. Well, I was going to say we're going to get down below 2 minutes before the next snap, but the clock has stopped, and South Carolina has called a timeout.
I've noticed that North Carolina's kind of centered the ball up. I almost think they're playing for just a field goal, just to kind of really put this thing out of reach. But that would even scare me as a coach at this point. All it takes is a blocked field goal going the other way, and, we got a different ball game.
And given what we've seen with special teams today, that is not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about South Carolina's missed PAT. I'm not sure with the way that the special teams have been playing, I wouldn't have just went for 2. I've got as much chance of getting a 2-point conversion as I do of making a successful PAT.
South Carolina has had 2 block point afters. They've had 1 botched 2-point conversion. Along with the block punt, it has not been the day for special teams. Not that that's an omen for what could transpire in the next 2 minutes and 32 seconds, but as the adage goes, you never know. And wouldn't that be a great way to end up this ball game?
Absolutely.
We've seen everything else.
Yeah, I was
Why
going
not
to say, from what we've seen so far, who knows? I mean, I would not be surprised with anything that we saw. While you'd think the fireworks have kind of tapered down, you just don't know. I mean, again, we're talking about high school kids out there. These are 17, 18, 19-year-old young men, and anything can happen. But, that's why you play the game. And, you play it between those white lines and on that grass, and you just do it.
You are throwing out every single cliche you possibly can here at the end of the broadcast.
Just trying to fill some time,
Third down and 11. Chances are the ball will stay on the ground, especially with 2 backs flanking either side of Austin Kendall. And, of course, he's going to throw. And he does so, and it's caught by Rico Dowdle.
Interesting call.
Very much so. And the North Carolina coaches to our left celebrate with high fives all the way around. North Carolina now tacking their 54th digit on the board.
Incredible. Again, something we didn't think we'd see. Maybe in the back of your head you thought it, but I really didn't think he'd make that call.
Yeah, I don't think South Carolina thought they were going to see it. Those linebackers were coming up.
Waking up today, I never would have thought that we would have seen a combined point total the way that we're seeing it today. Both programs have already run well over 120 plays on the day. That drive, 8 plays, 62 yards, took 4 minutes and 34 seconds.
And it's not over.
No, it's not.
We get one more score, guys, and we're over 100.
We're going to get one more chance at this. 48 here. He won a little bit of a head start.
And Brandon Tillman, phenomenal athlete out of River Bluff High School, quarterback, linebacker, committed to Liberty University. Going to be playing baseball and football for Liberty.
Those are the stories I like to hear. So much emphasis is put on our big kids going to D1 schools. High school football is made up of a lot of different kids. It's going a lot of different places, and I really like to see that. Oh, and there's a block.
Blocked.
Point after is blocked, and that is a break for South Carolina. Austin Kendall for North Carolina today. 14 out of 17 in the air, 203 yards, including this touchdown strike. As people are starting to wrap up their duties on the sidelines. 54-39 is our score. Record scoring totals by both North Carolina as a team, dating all the way back to 1937, the most points ever. And on the flip side, it's the most points ever scored by a losing program here in the 79th edition of this Classic. This Classic, by the way, is the oldest high school game throughout all of the United States of America, and we are happy to have brought it to you here today. The kickoff, it's a squib. South Carolina will take it at the 30. South Carolina will go no further as Brandon Tillman is unable to advance that football, and South Carolina will have one more crack at it. 2 minutes, 23 seconds remaining. 2 timeouts. And, gentlemen, if they're to score, it probably needs to happen on this play right here.
It does, but I love that enthusiasm I just saw by Crest High School linebacker Aaron Ramseur, who made that big hit running off the field, getting excited with the defensive coordinator from North Carolina, Shane Handy from Randleman. Just such enthusiasm. That was one of the keys, show up with energy, and North Carolina's done it.
Colin Hill will quarterback the Sandlappers here in the waning minutes. Good protection, steps up through the pocket, will get hit from behind, and he is down. That ball is going to stay where it is from behind. Timothy Horn, the verbal to Brad Lambert and the 49ers at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, gets the tackle and gets a chance to walk on off the field.
He stepped up in the pocket nice, but his offensive lineman kind of stopped.
Hill scrambles. Will get close to the first down marker, will slide, and they will give him progress right to the point of the stick.
I see North Carolina's making some defensive substitutions about every other play. They're bringing some of those big linemen in, some of the big linemen out. I see Timothy Horn, who just had that big sack back in the game. Timothy Horn, incredible athlete. I seen this kid in the gym two-hand dunk a basketball with one step.
First down and 10, South Carolina trying to show some humility here. Good catch made to the other end of the field. Good job by South Carolina's Larry Collins to fall on it. He gets up off the ground, though, with a shoulder pad and a jersey out of place.
Yeah. Where was this urgency at the end of the third quarter?
That's a thought. Hill, first down. Moving the football well now. Catch nearly made by Matthew Martin. Ball was in the right place. Martin just couldn't quite hang on.
I agree with you, Jim, but you know, at least the one thing that I see as a coach and looking on film is that these kids are playing with urgency, and you know it still matters to them. You know, in the NFL, they would have done cashed out by now and just kind of run the clock out. But it just shows you the significance and the importance of this game, that they're out there representing their state and playing as hard as they possibly can.
Second down and 10. North Carolina has scored 8 times today. South Carolina looking for their 7th score to close out the contest. Pass on the way, and it will float out of bounds, intended once again for Martin. Good coverage by Xander Gagnon. And we are at 1 minute remaining. We will be back with you in 2016. Earlier today on the field, the North Carolina and South Carolina coaching staffs were announced for what will be the 80th edition of this game. That will be played again the 3rd Saturday in December in 2016 right here at Wofford. On third down, again stepping through the pocket, having time, and the ball is dropped for what seems to be the 5th time this half by South Carolina. That time, Jason Hopper. Hopper guilty of dropping 2 of those passes here in the second stanza.
Yeah, you can't do that in an all-star game. If you're an all-star, ball hits you in the hands, you should be catching it.
They say that about NFL players as well. You're getting paid all that money, you might as well catch it. These guys, they're doing it for the love right now.
A lot of passion in the game.
Certainly. So 4th down, this could be the last play for South Carolina here in 2015. Hill will scramble. Good coverage downfield, forced to throw it away, and that'll do it for South Carolina.
No one to throw it to. Good coverage by North Carolina, good pressure by North Carolina.
Absolutely. Again, I mean, I've called his name dozens of times, but Xander Gagnon right there running all over the field. He has been a factor on that defense from the start.
North Carolina will send out his good hands team. Victory formation is probably on the way, and John Kirby from Eastern Alamance High School, the head coach here for North Carolina. John Kirby, who enjoyed a great football season, finished 13-1 for the Eagles, will get yet another victory here today. He was hoping to go to the state championship with his Eagles football team, unable to make it, but being able to represent his state in this all-star game, I'm sure this will be a very sweet victory for John Kirby. One knee, and that should elicit the opportunity for both programs to walk out onto the field and shake some hands. An incredible statistic ball game today. North Carolina 54 plays from scrimmage for 343 yards. South Carolina 76 plays from scrimmage for 450 yards. And John Kirby about to get cold. They're looking for him. He doesn't want it. But when the G cooler comes calling, you cannot escape. 5 seconds remaining, and the fans will help him count it down.
Great moment for North Carolina, no question.
Gentlemen, final thoughts as we start to break away. North Carolina 54, South Carolina 39. Chris Hughes, your thoughts?
North Carolina came out with a lot of energy. Amazing big plays. Cornell Powell kind of set the tone with the kick return. A lot of big plays from scrimmage, and they just piled on early and just took the momentum.
And from a South Carolina standpoint, Jim?
You know, mistakes on special teams and giving up the big play really hurt. And listen, you can't take anything away from North Carolina because, as I said, the MVP in this game was that North Carolina offensive line.
It was billed as an all-star game, and all-star it was. North Carolina 54 points against South Carolina's 39. Wofford College, the host of this 79th edition of the Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas, powered by Ortho Carolina, and it's been great. So for Chris Hughes and Jim Baxter, we say so long. My name is Trip Durham from Spartanburg, South Carolina, where the final score once again, North Carolina 54, South Carolina 39. To watch this entire game on replay, as well as all other games, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.